Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Princess Donna to be flung through time and space only to land at Konoha's doorstep. Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Iruka looked at his class, grateful that this class was graduating in a few months, and began the day's lesson. Now then, students, today's lesson will be focused on one of the most dangerous foes you can face in the field as a ninja, Jinchuriki. These ninjas are unique because they each have one of the 9 Biju sealed within them. This grants them powers far greater than normal ninjas, even ninjas with powerful Kekkei Genkai at their disposal. While not unbeatable, a Jinchuriki is a powerful foe and should not be fought head-on. In fact, it is advisable for most ninjas to avoid fighting with them at all. The reason why you should not directly fight a Jinchuriki is because of the Biju they contain. Biju have an influence over their power even when their powers are being controlled by the ninja they are sealed into as a Jinchuriki. Should the ninja become too stressed by combat, the Biju will take over by various levels of control and go on a rampage. Some villages such as Suna and Iwa capitalize on this fact and deliberately make their Jinchuriki seals weak so that they can act as mobile deployment means for the demons. Other villages have their Jinchuriki trained to use the Biju's power without giving up control. However, the training is never 100% effective, and letting the Biju out as an attack is still kept as a last resort. Luckily, your chance of fighting a Jinchuriki is incredibly slim given that there is a max of 9 of them at any one time. Currently, it is known that Kiri, Kumo, and Iwa all have 2 Jinchurikis while Taki, Suna, and our own village only have 1. Furthermore, as your classmate demonstrates, it takes years for a Jinchuriki to grow powerful enough to where you should automatically flee if they enter the battlefield. Furthermore, humans normally cannot handle the strain of demonic chakra, and so the vast majority Jinchuriki have to either limit the usage of their demon's power or can only serve for a few years. Of course, there are exceptions to every rule, and luckily for us, Konoha is the exception to the limitations of Jinchuriki. Because of the Uzumaki bloodline, Konoha has potentially the strongest Jinchuriki possible. This is because the Uzumakis are able to resist demonic chakra's harmful effects and remove the demonic will from the chakra. Because of this, Konoha has only had 3 Jinchurikis while other villages are on their 7th or 8th Jinchuriki for a Biju. Several members of the class turned to glance over to where Naruto was sitting. It was a little disconcerting to think that the friendly and slightly goofy kid had that much power sleeping inside of him. They all had heard how the Kyuubi was sealed into Naruto by the Yondaime after he killed Madara Uchiha for releasing the Kyuubi from Naruto's mother to destroy the village. However, it was hard for the children to accept that Naruto would one day be able to wield a power that could have easily destroyed the village if his mother hadn't used her dying strength to keep the beast from attacking long enough to be sealed. Naruto himself sat bored in his seat as Iruka explained a few non-classified details on how to handle a Jinchuriki. Grandpa Sarutobi had already taught him about these details so that he knew about his weaknesses. While not his blood grandfather, the Sandaime had taken Naruto into his family as a foster child since his godfather was mostly out of the village maintaining various spy rings. Naruto liked it at the Sarutobi compound because the clan accepted him completely and didn't treat him at arm's length. It wasn't that Naruto was hated by villagers. He just wasn't someone they felt at ease with. There were only a few kids in school who had been willing to play with him and could be counted as friends. Still, Naruto had to admit that the villagers' respectful distance was better than what Jinchuriki in other villages got. Hell, Suna apparently tried to kill its Jinchuriki on a monthly basis. Yes, Naruto thought, he definitely had a good deal when it came to being a Jinchuriki. Naruto and the other students who had let their minds wander were brought back to reality when Iruka called for the lunch break. Like several students who had studied ahead, Naruto headed for the windows and walked out of the classroom. However, he headed up to the roof while the others were heading down to the outdoor dining field. Once on the roof, Naruto unsealed a picnic table and waited for his friends to arrive. Shikamaru, Choji, and Kiba walked in through the roof door and sat down at the table. The quartet quickly wolfed down their lunches. Even the usually lethargic Shikamaru could devour food with surprising gusto. Once they were done, Kiba pulled out a telescope and grinned. "Hey guys, who wants to join me for checking out hot springs? After all, it's Women's Wednesday and you know they get the most babes today." Choji and Shikamaru unsealed their telescopes and set up camp right next to where Kiba had his telescope placed. Why else would they have their lunch on a hot roof? Naruto rolled his eyes and took his place as lookout. Kiba had great ideas for pranks, but man was he a pervert. Naruto didn't join in the weekly peeping session because if he wanted to see some skin, which he didn't, swiping a video or 2 from his grandfather's collection would be the safer course of action. Hearing the sounds of someone walking up the stairs, Naruto called out to his friends. "Someone is coming, guys." Unfortunately for them, the trio was too focused on the bathing babes and their telescopes. Naruto shrugged his shoulders and walked down the wall out of sight. He then pulled out some popcorn and waited for the show to begin. A big fox grin appeared on Naruto's face as he sat on the wall and listened as his pals got beaten up by Ankle, who was subbing for the gym teacher this week. Princess Donna of the Amazons rushed through the woods of Themyscira towards one of the Amazons' armories. Donna was running towards the armory like the fate of the Amazons rested on her getting there as soon as possible, and it was. None of her sisters were able to stop the magician Felix Faust as he attacked Themyscira. His magic turned them to stone before they could lay a blade on the old man. Before she had been turned to stone, Philippus had charged Donna with retrieving the amulet of Hecate from the mystical armory. The amulet would render whoever wore it immune from any curses like Faust was using. If she could get it, then she could kill Faust and free her sisters. The young princess let out a sigh of relief when she came into view of the armory. Donna quickly ran to the door, opened it, and dashed into the armory. She then rushed about looking for the amulet. It wasn't hard to find the amulet since it was sitting on a pedestal slightly off-center in the armory. The princess quickly walked up to the pedestal and grabbed the amulet. Well, 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 a voice from behind Donna said, causing the princess to whirl around in fear. Faust was standing in the doorway holding his Medusa medallion. It seems that one of you Amazons was able to escape. However, it was foolish of you to run indoors like this unless this is where you wanted your statue to be. He then activated the medallion, sending 2 mystical beams of energy. The beams hit Donna, but didn't do anything. The magician's eyes became wide in shock because Donna didn't turn into stone. His eyes then spotted the amulet in Donna's hand. Faust quickly regained his composure and said, I see. That little amulet of yours grants you protection from some magical attacks. Donna grinned and shot back, yes. Thanks to it I'll be able to defeat you and force you to undo the damage you've done. Themyscira's youngest princess grinned and then rushed at Faust assured of victory now that she had the amulet. Her charge abruptly ended when the princess slammed into an invisible wall a foot away from Faust. The arcane practitioner shook his head like he was scolding a student. Did you really think I hadn't prepared any personal defenses, princess? After all, an arrow can still kill someone if it's made of stone instead of metal. He then frowned as Donna backed away a few feet so she could assess the situation. That amulet is going to be a problem for me. I don't care what happens to you, princess, as long as you're not around when I summon your sister. However, I don't suppose you'll be willing to let go of the amulet and be turned into stone? Of course you won't let yourself be turned into stone. Your foolish pride will not let you. I'll need to get rid of you. Faust stretched out his hand, causing the barrier to extend around Donna. The princess snarled as she saw she was completely trapped by Faust's magic. She then watched as the magician pulled out a large blue sapphire gem and began chanting. By the power of Odin's lost eye, I call upon the strength to pierce the veil of time and cast asunder the barriers of evermore. May this woman see her last sunrise in this land that is by right of sword mine, to forever be cast upon a dream's lost shore. Bolts of lighting suddenly appeared in the barrier and started to swirl around Donna, growing in strength. Donna then felt a strong gale forming and trying to lift her off the ground. Soon the wind picked her up, causing the princess to panic. Why isn't the amulet stopping this curse? Faust shouted out, that's because this isn't a curse, my dear. It's a transportation spell designed to send you to another reality. By having your destination be random, I'm able to lower the power of the spell enough so that I can cast it, and I can't retrieve you if your sister tries to for me to get you back. There was blinding flash of light as the princess was forced out of reality with her destination up to fate. Danzo frowned as he looked at the ANBU commanders assembled before him. In the Scarred Elder's mind, most of the ANBU were only acceptable, and should be of superior quality than what he had to deal with thanks to Horizon's policies. It was times like this, when he was going over the ANBU training records, that he wished he could get rid of the emotions early on in shinobi training. Far too many Konoha shinobi were too soft. Sure, some people could use emotions to become stronger. However, far too many people let their emotions paralyze them when they should act. It annoyed Danzo that Horizon forgot that he was one of those rare people who could productively utilize emotions. That and the Sandame's public relations campaigns, while financially very profitable, weakened Konoha's forces in the grizzled Warhawk's mind. Years ago, Danzo had thought about creating a sub-branch of ANBU that would properly train shinobi from the ground up to protect Konoha. That idea had been so tempting to him. However, it was only a dangerous idea. Doing something like that would divert valuable resources from Konoha and could weaken the village's defenses. If it was found out, a civil war could break out, hurting the village. But most importantly, such a plan would break the unity of the village. There could only be one Hokage, and Danzo wasn't the Hokage even if he wished he was. Turning his attention back to the ANBU, Danzo gave out his final critiques. Squad sure is not up to proper standards. Captain Bear, you must double your squad's training routine. There can be no give in your men's abilities. Now, let's put this aside and focus on the hunt for Orochimaru. Before Danzo could continue, an electrical whirlwind appeared in the middle of his office, forcing everyone to duck for cover. When the storm abated, Danzo and the ANBU captains were greeted with the sight of a confused and slightly dazed Donna standing in the briefing room. Immediately, the old war hawk and leader of the ANBU assumed that the princess was an enemy agent sent to Konoha by some unknown jutsu to steal intelligence. Seize her for questioning. Donna whirled around at the sound of Danzo's voice, slipping into a defensive stance. She wasn't about to be beaten even if she had no idea where she was. The first ANBU to approach Donna received a lightning fast punch that sent him flying through walls. Donna quickly kicked another ninja and then flew through 3 more like a wrecking ball in a china shop. She then smashed the wall on her right and lightly stepped onto the floor. Unlike Diana, Donna was just learning to fly and she trusted her feet in this situation. If he didn't possess absolute control of his emotions, Danzo would have smacked his face in disgust at the ANBU's performance. Seriously, couldn't they take down one girl even if she did have strength to rival Tsunade? Danzo walked over to a microphone and turned it on. Attention ANBU, command has been infiltrated by an unknown agent. Your orders are to capture the woman for questioning. Be warned, as she has demonstrated extreme strength and arrived in the command by an unknown jutsu. Donna raced through the hallway of ANBU command and saw 3 ninjas standing in front of her in an intersection. Not wanting to waste time with another battle, Donna shoved through the right wall and continued to run. Unfortunately, she ended up breaking into the indoor throwing range and several ninjas were still there suiting up to go after her. The ninjas took one look at Donna and pulled out their kunai. Seeing the other group of ninjas closing in on her, Donna ran through the range and barely avoided getting hit. When she reached the other side, the Amazonian princess smashed through the wall and slammed her foot into the ground. To her surprise, she broke the floor, creating a gaping hole to the lower level instead of creating a wall of earth. Donna thought about going through the hole for a second before deciding to continue running down the hall. Hopefully, the hole would throw them off. Turning yet another corner, Donna practically ran into an ANBU kunoichi. The princess quickly took a defensive stance and prepared herself for battle. However, the kunoichi made a hand sign as cast a genjutsu on Donna. Most genjutsus were focused around causing pain, paralyzing fear, confusing a person's senses, or trapping a person's mind. This genjutsu worked in a completely different way and blindsided Donna. One moment she was preparing for battle, and the next her senses were burning with pleasure. Her brain flooded with endorphins, causing her to pass out from pleasure. Donna groggily woke up and quickly discovered that her limbs were bound in chains, and she was feeling as weak as a newborn kitten. Trying not to panic, Donna looked around trying to get a sense of her location. She spotted 5 people off to the side and tried to listen into what they were saying. It was a good thing that the Amazons were taught every language spoken in man's world, or she wouldn't have understood a word. As it was, she could barely follow what was being said as it sounded like a dialect of Japanese. One of the older people calmly asked, "Were you able to determine how she appeared in the middle of ANBU headquarters Inoichi?" Donna watched as the man who she now knew was called Inoichi shook his head. "Not exactly, Lord Hokage. Her mind is unique. Something with her chakra is very different, making it hard to enter her mind. The closest I can describe it is like when I enter Naruto's mind for his yearly checkup. I checked and she doesn't have a seal, so she isn't a Jinchuriki. From what little I could get is that she's from a kingdom I've never heard of and was very important there. She was apparently sent here by some attacker, but how I can't determine from the scant images I could glimpse." One of the elders glanced over to Donna and frowned. He then said, "Hiruzen, the prisoner is awake. I think we should question her now." Hiruzen glanced over at Donna and nodded his head. "You're right, Hamura. Hopefully we can get the answers we need." He then walked over to the Amazon princess with his advisors and Inoichi following him. In a firm voice the Hokage asked, "Who are you and from what land do you hail from?" Donna looked up at Hiruzen and defiantly replied, "I am Donna of Themyscira, second princess, and daughter of Queen Hippolyta of the Amazons. Who are you to imprison me so?" Very quickly Hiruzen said, "I am the Sandaime Hokage and ruler of this village. Lady Donna, you are being held for infiltrating a military facility via an unknown method and assaulting several of my shinobi who were attempting to detain you for questioning. I know of all the peoples and lands with 2 years of travel from the Land of Fire, and have never heard of the Themyscira or the Amazons. That means you're either lying to me, which I can plainly see you're not, or your people are from the other side of the world. It doesn't really matter at this point because you are effectively alone, and it is up to me to determine what your punishment will be for your crimes. If you cooperate with us, you'll be granted a lighter sentence for your crimes. However, if you refuse to cooperate with us, we'll be forced to use more unpleasant methods to get the information we need from you, and your punishment will be far harsher. It's for the good of my village's security. I'm sure you understand my position." As much as Donna hated it, she could understand Hiruzen's position. If somebody had suddenly appeared in the middle of the palace back home, they would have been seized for questioning as well. With a sigh, Donna said, "All right, I'll help you. What is it you want to know?" Danzo quickly spoke up before Hiruzen. "How did you enter ANBU command?" Donna looked at Hiruzen for a second and then said, "I don't know. My people were under attack and I was tasked with retrieving an amulet that negated our attacker's magic. He found me after I recovered the amulet, and used an artifact I've never heard of before to send me away so that he wouldn't have to worry about the amulet." Hiruzen nodded his head, accepting Donna's answer. The questioning continued for the next 20 minutes as Hiruzen and the other elders tried to assess what threat Donna, her people, and Faust might present to Konoha and the Land of Fire. Once the questioning session ended, Hiruzen and the elders walked away to discuss what should happen to Donna. Danzo was the first to speak his opinion. "I say that we have the prisoner put to death. Her ability to resist Inoyochi's mind-reading jutsus makes it unlikely we can mind-wipe her to savage her as a Black Ops fighter. Her people are obviously out of range to do anything to us or help us, and she'll only cause trouble staying here. Killing her now prevents us from losing Shinobi if she escapes and allows us to deny ever seeing her. It's the safest option." Hamura shook his head. "I think we should have her kept locked away for now and search for Themyscira. The Amazon Queen would likely pay a large ransom for the return of her daughter. The price of exotic goods from lands beyond the local countries would fetch a considerable profit. We know that there is at least one way to get to Themyscira quickly, and we could perhaps create another way with Jiraiya and his toad summons to help." Koharu added her 2 cents. "We have no idea if her sudden transportation to Konoha can be duplicated, and it would cost too much to fund an expedition of exploration to find Themyscira. Also, simply killing Donna would be a waste of a perfectly good opportunity. I say we marry her to Naruto Uzumaki. We'll eventually need another Uzumaki to take Naruto's place in the future, and no clan is going to allow one of their daughters to be the mother or grandmother of the next Jinchuriki. Donna's strength will improve the Uzumaki clan as a whole, and we were contemplating giving Naruto a captured kunoichi or 2 in the future as a concubine if the situation regarding his status remained the same." The Hokage carefully considered his friend's words. Their very different outlooks on matters helped him look at all angles. Kohara had a good point, and presented a good way to handle the situation. Having Donna marry Naruto would allow Konoha to claim they were treating the princess well on the off chance her people ever came looking for her. The marriage would link the princess to the village and could be construed as a punishment for a lady of her birth, especially given the Uzumaki's burden. It would also solve the very real problem of Naruto being the only living member of his clan. People appreciated what Naruto did for them, but no one wanted their descendants bound to the Uzumaki's fate. Hiruzen nodded his head and said, "I've decided to go with Koharu's suggestion. We'll have Lady Donna move to the good behavior cell for tonight, and inform her of her punishment tomorrow. Keep the chakra-draining seal on her, but remove her chains and make sure that she gets her meals from the guard kitchen instead of the prisoner kitchen." Asuma and Naruto were standing on wooden training poles having a spar in the Sarutobi clan compound. Both of them were wielding wooden training kunai and trying to force the other to loose their footing. Asuma was taking a defensive approach while Naruto was hopping from pole to pole trying to attack a weak spot he thought he saw. The Jonin spotted his father entering the compound out of the corner of his eye and decided to end the match. Asuma's leg lashed out quicker than Naruto could follow, hit the boy in the gut, and sent him flying out of bounds. There was a noticeable thud as Naruto hit the sand around the training poles. "What was that for, Uncle Asuma? I thought you said we weren't going to use our feet this session." Asuma shrugged his shoulders and replied, "Always expect the unexpected in battle, Naruto. Besides, father's home early today and I think we should see what's going on." Asuma then hopped off of the pole he was standing on and landed on the stone outline of the training ground. He then turned around and offered Naruto a hand up. Naruto accepted the offered hand and the duo walked back into the compound. Unlike some established clans, the Sarutobis followed a more relaxed domestic life, and their compound was a large home for everyone to live in rather than a formal compound with greater and lesser domiciles for clan members. Hiruzen was quickly found by the duo sitting on one of the couches boiling some water for tea on a coffee table in the living room. The old Hokage smiled when he saw his son and ward walk in the room. "Hello Asuma, Naruto, it's good to see you both. Would either of you care for a cup of tea?" "Sure, Grandpa." "I think that would be nice, Father." Naruto sat down next to Hiruzen while Asuma got 2 more cups. He then put tea on the tray and asked, "So Father, why are you home early?" Hiruzen let a small frown appear on his face as he spoke. "We had an incident today at ANBU Command. A noblewoman from a warrior people I've never heard of before was accidentally sent into command by a jutsu used against her. She caused quite a ruckus before we were able to capture her for questioning. Now I've got a princess cooling her heels in a prison cell with no ready way to return her to her people, but have to face the chance her people will come looking for her." Asuma shuddered and replied, "That's not good news. If this causes the Fire Lord any trouble with the local nations or causes some previously unheard of nation to attack, it will be your neck on the chopping block. What are you going to do about her? The Hokage took a moment to pour some water into his cup and put a tea bag in it. He then answered his son. I'm doing the only thing I realistically can do. I'm providing for a young woman of her station while still punishing her for attacking Konoha's military forces. As such, she is to be married off to a clan heir whose wealth can provide for a high station, but not one as high as the typical princess would consider normal for one of her station. As for the heir in question, I've chosen Naruto to be her husband. Naruto spat out his tea and screamed, What? How can I be chosen as this woman's husband? I'm only 14 years old for Amaterasu's sake. Hiruzen gave Naruto a hard look and said, You were selected to be Donna's husband because I decided you were the best choice out of her potential husbands to be. The fact that you are 14 is immaterial. As your guardian, I can give my permission to have you as a minor marry. Also, you're set to graduate from the academy in 3 months, so you'll be legally an adult. Besides, Donna is apparently 15 years old, so your ages won't be a major problem. With a sigh, Naruto replied, You're right, grandfather. I just wish that I could pick my own wife in the future. You know, like how you got Uncle Asuma's mother or how my parents met. Is it really too much to ask for the chance to have the choice be my choice? A small tear rolled down Hiruzen's cheek. I'm sorry, Naruto. I really wish you could have the joy of meeting that someone special and falling in love like I did. However, I don't see that happening as much as it pains me to tell you this fact. I can't see any woman from the village agreeing to become your wife because of social pressure. Take a look at your situation in school. You're one of the top students of the year, you come from a respected wealthy clan, have the Yan name for your father, are one of the more attractive boys in the school, and yet you don't have a single fangirl. Now I'll freely admit that fangirls are worse than locusts, but any other boy in your situation would have at least a dozen of the vermin. Asuma walked over and wrapped his arm around Naruto. Cheer up, Naruto, it's not so bad. There's nothing that says you can't fall in love with this Donna girl once you married her just because it's an arranged marriage. I know several nobles who have grown to love their wives that they got from arranged marriages. As long as you are a gentleman, everything will work out in time. I guess, Naruto said as his spirits picked up a little. He then looked at Hiruzen and asked, Grandpa, when do I meet Donna? Hiruzen quickly answered, Tomorrow after school, Naruto. I want you to head straight for the Hokage Tower and come to my office. Donna will be brought to my office to meet you after being informed of her future by one of the village elders. You two will meet there and can talk for a bit before the marriage papers are signed. Once the marriage is finalized, you and your new bride will be free to do as you wish until supper time, when I expect you both to be here. He then turned to his son and said, Asuma, I want you and your brother Sagara to prepare one of the larger rooms tomorrow for the new Uzumaki couple to move into. Just the basic things Naruto and Donna will need, you understand. Is that alright with you? Asuma nodded his head and replied, That's fine, father. Donna was sitting on the bed in her cell wearing a plain kimono. She had been given the outfit and instructions on how to wear it with her breakfast. Part of Donna wanted to keep her old tunic, but it had been taken to be washed. At least, the princess groused, she had been allowed to keep her bracelets. The second princess of Themyscira heard a door slide open and got up to see Koharu enter her cell block. Donna watched as the village elder walked over to her cell. So, I take it you're here to tell me what my punishment is going to be? Koharu bowed her head and replied, That is correct, Princess Donna. It has been decided that, to both provide for your living in our lands and punish you by limiting your nation's alliance prospects, you are to be married. Damn to Tartarus I will! Donna screamed as she tried to punch her way out of her cell. The pain in her fists, and the fact that something was draining her strength, didn't matter to the princess. Donna snarled like a wild beast and said, No Amazon will ever allow herself to be enslaved like that. Koharu rolled her eyes at the theatrics, quickly made several one-handed hand signs, and launched a small bolt of lighting at Donna, zapping the princess. That is enough of that kind of behavior, young lady. I don't know what things are like among your Amazonian people, but in these lands it is expected for a lady of your stature to act with dignity and respect. I have no idea how you could get this ridiculous idea that marriage is the same as slavery. Donna quickly retorted. My teachers have taught me about the machinations of men. It was Hades who tricked my mother, forcing the other gods to punish her. It was Hercules who attacked Themyscira after my mother and my Amazonian sisters welcomed him in friendship. The women who have the blessing to come to our shores and sanctuary tell tales of how most of their husbands or other men they knew abused them. How is it that you, a woman who has obviously seen much in her lifetime, say something like that to me? It wasn't that Donna hated men. In fact, she shared her older sister's curiosity for man's world. She was simply reacting out in stress from her current situation. Between false actions and ending up a prisoner, the princess was latching on to the more hostile lessons she had previously ignored. Koharu's gaze softened just a tad as she listened to Donna's rant. I'm sorry to have to hear what some of your people have experienced. However, let me put your fears to rest, as women are not mistreated here. The men in these lands are raised to treat women properly for the most part. The few men who don't learn how to give women their proper respect do so at their own risk. Angering someone who has or has friends who have detailed knowledge of poisons is not conducive to idiot breeding. Unable to help herself, Donna cracked a small smile. At least these women had some protection that several foundlings didn't have. It also provided her with a way out of this mess if need be. Donna wasn't going to automatically kill her husband. Even the mere thought was making her green. However, she was seriously considering it if he stepped out of line 1 inch. The old kunoichi easily read Donna's thoughts from the look on her face. I would suggest you try and get along with your future husband. I did not suggest you be married off to Naruto Uzumaki just for him to die because of a spiteful bride. While we don't look too closely when a disreputable man passes away in the night, the death of a young man known for being friendly to everyone would be investigated very closely. Besides, anyone near Naruto when he dies will likely be killed by the demon's dispersal. Donna blinked her eyes in confusion. Demon? What demon are you talking about? Knowing that it would be best for her to know, Koharu quickly started explaining. There are powerful demons in these lands that have the power to destroy entire cities with ease. The only way to prevent the demons from going on a rampage is to seal them into people. The Uzumaki clan protects this village from the Kyuubi, the most powerful of the demons, in this manner and has done this task well. Unfortunately, Naruto is the last of his clan and only his clan has the ability to contain a biju without harmful effects to the container. If he dies with no blood heir to pass his burden on to, everyone in the land will likely die. Seeing a potential opening, Donna said, I'm a poor choice for a brood mare if that's what you're looking to use me as. Due to our births, both my sister and I were born sterile. Normally, Donna would never admit this. However, this situation was not normal at all. To the princess's surprise, Koharu let out a small chuckle. That might have been true once, princess. Our doctors did a thorough check of your body before you were interrogated just to be sure you didn't have any suicide seals or implants. Your reproductive system is badly damaged. However, it is repairing itself at an almost alarmingly fast rate. Within a month or 2 you'll be able to bear a child like any other woman. It's possibly a side effect of that just so that was cast on you. I for one don't know. Still, we're not expecting you to have a child in the next year or 2. Now come on, it's time for you to meet your husband. Donna backed into her cell in fear as Koharu pulled out the key to the cell. Seeing the fear in the princess's eyes made the elder kunoichi want to scream. Were the Amazons a bunch of scared fools that the thought of men frightened them that badly? Once again, Koharu sighed and started to talk to Donna. Look, princess, you're in a foreign land without the ability to contact your people. It's quite obvious that your people have pounded into your head that man is the root of all evil when it's actually human stupidity. The only evil that has men at its root is when a man's root is too small. Now, remember that this marriage is vital to your future safety. By becoming Mrs. Uzumaki, you secure a base for yourself in Konoha and resources to see to your needs. This will allow you to learn about the Land of Fire and its surrounding countries. Only a fool moves without knowing what's around them. Given that Naruto is a good young man who will want your approval, you can easily work things so that the marriage is bearable if not enjoyable. If your mother didn't teach you how to control a husband because she failed to learn so herself, you can come to me or one of the other older wives for advice. In time, you can become a full member of the village and go on missions or work on a way to contact your homeland. On the other hand, you can fight your way out of here and try to flee the village. There's a high chance you'll be recaptured and then either held for ransom or killed as a spy. On the off chance you do manage to escape from the village, you'll have no resources, no knowledge of the area or how to blend in, and be a wanted criminal in these lands. No village would offer you sanctuary, and attempts to capture you will be made if you're spotted in the area by any local authorities. If you don't end up eaten by a wild animal, you'll be raped and killed by bandits, or sold as a drug-addicted sex slave in the criminal underground. I am not trying to scare you, girl. However, these are the facts of your situation, princess. The choice before you is simple: learn how to adapt or be stubborn and get yourself killed. For your sake, I suggest you take the first option. The kami have no tolerance for pride or stupidity. With that said, we have an appointment to meet. Naruto nervously paced back and forth in the Hokage's office, wondering what he was going to do. How was he supposed to get along with a young woman he hadn't even met yet and marry her? He was only 14 for Inari's sake. It's not like he had any idea what to do about being married, and to make matters worse, Hiruzen told him that Donna came from a culture that was apparently apprehensive about men. Someone somewhere had to be messing with him. Just as Naruto was about to make another pass, the door opened to reveal Koharu and Donna. Naruto took one look at Donna and tried not to pass out in shock. He then blurted out, I thought you said I would be married to a princess, not a Tenyo. Hiruzen and Koharu smirked at Naruto's declaration, while Donna was completely confused. Donna's temper started to build, thinking she had been insulted. Koharu quickly averted a confrontation by whispering into Donna's ear. He called you a heavenly messenger. Outside of the goddesses, they're supposed to be the most beautiful beings in the world. Donna's temper instantly evaporated and a faint blush grew on her cheeks. She had received many compliments over her looks before, but nothing like that. Diana was the one whose beauty was compared to Aphrodite, while she was just Donna. Unsure of what she should do, the princess quickly mumbled, "Thank you for the compliment." Silence started to descend on the room. Naruto looked over to his grandfather for suggestions, but Hiruzen was unreadable. Figuring that the Hokage wanted him to feel this by himself, Naruto decided to try and break the ice. "So, do you want to pound me into a pulp before or after we sign the marriage papers?" Donna blinked her eyes in confusion. This wasn't how men were supposed to act. Donna was thrown completely off kilter by the joke. She hesitantly answered, how about I put the pounding on hold until I feel you deserve it?" "Okay, that sounds good to me, Donna. Why don't you tell me what you think, what actions would make me deserve to have you beat me into the ground? If you tell me, then it's completely my fault if you need to beat me up for doing something like that." This conversation was making no sense to the Amazonian princess. Her tutors all said that men were egotistical and demanding. According to what Donna had been told, Naruto should either be boasting about how she should be honored to belong to him, or should start ordering her around. Had Faust sent her to Wonderland or something? Konoha was really starting to seem like that crazy land described in those books she had read once for school. Seeing that Naruto was waiting to listen to her, Donna collected herself and politely spoke. "Don't order me around or presume that you're better than me for being a male. I'm reluctantly willing to accept being your wife, but I refuse to be your servant in any respect. Also, don't think that being my husband grants you any rights to me." Donna paused for a second to point to her chest before continuing. "My favors are my own, and you'll have to prove yourself worthy of them to me before you get anything. Is that clear?" Naruto nodded his head so fast that Hiruzen was wondering if his grandson had invented a bobblehead jutsu. Naruto then smiled at Donna and said, "No problem. I don't know what you were expecting me to want, but I'm hoping that we can be friends, partners, and confidants. That's how my parents were to each other according to what I've heard, and I hope we can be like that." Hiruzen smiled and then spoke up. "I'm glad to see that the two of you are hitting things off to a good start. If you two would just sign the necessary paper, we can legalize your marriage and then you two can leave to get to know each other better." The Hokage pulled out the marriage document and put a pen on the table. Naruto picked up the pen first and quickly wrote his name in the proper place. He then handed the pen to Donna. The princess nervously accepted the pen and froze as she stared at the document. It just seemed so foreboding to her, like the mere sight of it would tear her in two. Donna's hands shook as she slowly brought the pen to the paper. With gulp she muttered, "Hera, give me strength." Donna then quickly signed the paper before she lost her will. Hiruzen took the marriage contract and gave it his stamp of approval, finalizing the marriage. He then smiled and said, "I wish both of you a long, prosperous, and happy union. Naruto, might I suggest you show your wife around the village? That way, she can familiarize herself to her new home and you two can get to know each other better." Donna's first impression of Konoha was its bustling streets outside of the Hokage Tower. She quickly took in all of the merchants in their vendor stalls calling out their wares. The villagers bustled around, weaving among the stalls and through the stores. Up on the rooftops, sentry ninjas could be seen carefully examining the bustle below them. The buildings weren't crowded, but the multi-story businesses were carefully built to make the most of limited space while being pleasant to the eye. "By the gods," Donna murmured, "I've never seen something like this." Naruto turned to give his new wife a confused look. "It's just the village commerce section. Surely you've seen similar things in your own lands." Donna shook her head. "We don't have large markets in Themyscira. Most of the population lives scattered about the island in collections of 20 to 30 homes. Amazons are taught how to make most of what they need. The independence of every woman is highly prized among my people because of the slavery many groups of men forced on my ancestors. If they cannot make something themselves or know of someone who can make what they need better, they go to that person and work out an exchange of labor that leaves both groups happy. A few women have specialized in certain crafts, but those are masters whose abilities in a certain field are rarely matched. About the only thing I can think of like this place is the Citadel." Naruto gave Donna a questioning glance. "What's the Citadel?" The newly married princess bit her lip softly as she thought about what she should say. She then sighed and replied, "The Citadel is the Amazons' stronghold. I guess you could call it our city. However, it's more a place where we can flee to if we're ever invaded. Within it are the palace, the temples, along with enough barracks, armories, and storehouses for my people to outlast any siege. Normally, only the priestess, the royal family, a few scribes, and the peacetime army live in the citadel. Her eyes got misty as the princess continued. Faust attacked the citadel first. Somehow he was able to transport past the wards of the citadel, and appeared in the middle of the royal court. General Philippus was able to get me out in the opening attack. We made it to the pigeon coops, but found that all of our messenger birds had been turned into stone. Philippus left to try and make it to one of the patrol bases in order to organize a counterstrike. I was sent to get an artifact that would help against Faust, and the last I saw of Philippus she was being transformed. Extremely nervous, Naruto ever so carefully put his hand on Donna's. He then softly spoke. Look, someone must have stopped Faust sooner or later. I don't know how many Amazons there are, but sooner or later someone will have beaten this guy. One person can't take on an entire nation. Not even a Jinchuriki can do that. Now it was Donna's turn to be confused. What's a Jinchuriki? A Jinchuriki is a person who's had a demon sealed within them. That's what people with my burden are called. Using the demon's power, a properly trained Jinchuriki can devastate armies, but they aren't unstoppable. Suna lost the Shichibi to Taki in the First Shinobi War because they thought the power of the Biju would let them conquer the country. Taki was crippled into being the minor power it is today, but they survived and now they're the only minor village with a Jinchuriki line. What I'm trying to say is that this Faust guy might have gotten lucky in the opening attack, but he's going to be defeated. Donna rewarded Naruto with a small smile for his efforts in cheering her up. She still wasn't sure about Naruto or them being married. However, a small voice in her head was whispering that she could have done much worse. Unsure of what to do, Donna asked, "What should we do now?" Naruto quickly replied, "I was thinking that we could go visit some of the shrines. There's one in particular I want to visit with you since it's to commemorate my parents. After that, I figured I could show you around Konoha so you know where everything is before we head back to the Sarutobi compound where we'll be staying for the next few months. Is that alright with you, Donna, or do you want to do something else?" That will be fine, Naruto. Which shrines will we be visiting?" "Well, the first shrine I think we should visit is the shrine to Inari. As the kami of fertility among other things, it's traditional in the land of fire for newlyweds to make a small offering to Inari for good fortune in their marriage. It's not something that has to be done immediately, so we can wait if you're not comfortable with making the offering now. However, it's considered to bring the best luck if one makes the offering within the first week of marriage and an invitation for misfortune if the offering is not made in the first month." Thinking of the Olympians back home, Donna's face grew a little pale. She quickly regained control and said, "Let's hold off for today at least. I don't want to make any offerings for our marriage at the moment. What other shrines were there that you wanted us to visit?" Naruto smiled and replied, "There are 2 other shrines I think we should visit. The first is the shrine of Zangetsu. Zangetsu is an aspect of the Shinigami, and we see him as the guardian of protectors who cuts down all who seek to harm others. He's a minor kami that's revered only in this land, but his worship is pretty big in Konoha. I figure we can say a prayer and make an offering at his shrine asking him to look out for your people. The second shrine I wanted to take you to visit is the ancestral shrine to the Rikudo Sennin. As I'm a shinobi in training from a shinobi family, taking you to the shrine is my way of introducing you to all my ancestors. This is especially true since the Uzumaki clan can trace their ancestry back to the Rikudo Sennin. The ancestral shrine also has an altar dedicated to my mother and distant cousin Mito for watching over Konoha as the pervious Jinchuriki, and an altar to my father's spirit since he was a Hokage while he was alive." It took the couple 10 minutes to get to the small shrine of Zangetsu. Donna was surprised to notice how cheery and peaceful the shrine was. The architecture was bright and cheerful like those of the other shrines the couple had passed by, and there was a small garden separating the shrine from the surrounding apartment buildings. There was a small black stone in front of the shrine entrance that read, "Abandon your fear. Look forward. Move forward and never stop. You'll age if you pull back. You'll die if you hesitate." Donna reread the message on the stone and blinked her eyes. "Naruto, am I reading that sign correctly? I think it says abandon your fear. Look forward. Move forward and never stop. You'll age if you pull back. You'll die if you hesitate. Your people's writing is similar to another that I know, but I have to be reading this wrong because this makes no sense." Naruto glanced at the sign and quickly replied, "No, you read it correctly, Donna. That's exactly what the sign says. It's a basic tenet of Zangetsu's teaching. Legend tells us that Zangetsu appeared to the Rikudo Sennin and spoke these words to him before the Sennin went off to battle the Jibi. From what grandfather told me, Zangetsu's words mean that one should never let fear or worry take hold of them in battle. Also, it means that we should just focus one situation at a time." Just after Naruto finished speaking, one of his classmates from the Ninja Academy appeared in sight coming from the shrine previously hidden by the stone. It took all of Naruto's willpower not to groan seeing Ino appear. He really didn't need to get noticed by the school gossip queen and news bloodhound right now. Desperately, Naruto prayed to whatever kami was listening that Ino didn't turn her head and see him. Unfortunately, none of the kami were listening to him at the moment. That, or Inori was miffed about not getting his offering yet because Ino turned her head and looked at the newlyweds. Ino blinked her eyes and blurted out, "Naruto? What are you doing here? Who's that girl with you? Where's she from?" Seeing Donna tense up, Naruto knew he was in very dangerous territory. He quickly replied, "This is Princess Donna of the Amazonian people. She was sent here via a jutsu used on her when her nation was attacked." After some initial confusion caused by her sudden arrival, her story was verified. Her people live in the uncharted regions, so we don't know when she can return to her people. The Hokage made a deal with her to make up for the trouble her arrival caused and ensure that she's taken care of until a way can be found to contact the Amazons. The details of the deal are for her to decide to reveal. I was in the middle of taking Princess Donna to the shrine to pray for her people's victory in their war. Ino glanced at Donna and saw a cross look in the princess's eyes. She then glanced at Naruto and said, "I'll see you in class tomorrow, Naruto." "It was a pleasure to meet you, Princess Donna." Ino then bolted from the shrine. Partly, it was to let everyone know that there was a princess in town, and partly to get away from Donna's glare. Naruto quickly whispered to Donna, "I'm sorry for not telling her that you're my wife. However, I thought you'd like to get used to the idea of being married today without everyone knowing. If Ino found out, the news would be known throughout the village. Besides, I did tell her the truth from a certain point of view." Donna's cheeks got a little warm when she realized that Naruto was trying to be considerate of her feelings. Once again, her new husband was doing something to throw her off balance, and they were only married for an hour. At this rate, Naruto would make her completely dizzy and confused before the week was out. Hera give her, wait, maybe calling on the goddess of matrimony wouldn't be such a good idea for her at the moment. Donna wished she knew what her mother or older sister would have done in this situation. Naruto gently took hold of Donna's hand and led her into the shrine grounds. He led her to a small booth where a shrine maiden was selling pre-made offerings and incense. Donna watched as Naruto handed the shrine maiden a handful of coins and grabbed 2 offerings and 2 incense sticks. The shinobi in training handed his new bride an offering and an incense stick. Donna looked at the offering resting in her hand in confusion. Seeing her confusion, Naruto quickly explained, "It's a rice ball with some meat inside. The shrines make them so that people can pray at a moment's notice. Most of the money used to buy an offering goes to charity and rest to the upkeep of the shrine. When we go into the shrine, you just put the offering in the altar fire, silently ask your petition, light the incense on the flame, and then place the incense on one of the stands." The couple walked into the shrine building and Naruto was surprised to see no one else in the shrine. There was a wall of burnt incense showing that there had been a lot of visitors today, but this was the first time Naruto had ever seen the place so quiet. Usually, there was a line at the altar as people came daily to pray for a family member's success or protection during a mission. Naruto went first in making his plea to Zangetsu for the Amazon's safety. As Naruto moved to put his incense in a holder, Donna approached the altar. She glanced up at the painting of Zangetsu and couldn't help but feel that he was somehow familiar. Something about the middle-aged man in the long black coat that was portrayed made the Amazon princess feel at ease. Donna quickly made the offering, said her prayer, and hoped everything would be all right back home. Donna's arrival at the Sarutobi compound had been rather interesting, to say the least. She had not been happy at the idea of living in the same house as the man who forced her into an unwanted marriage. At least Naruto had the intelligence to tell her that before they showed up at the compound. No one wanted to know what Donna's reaction would have been if she didn't have a chance to vent beforehand. Currently, Donna was in the attached bathroom of her and Naruto's new room brushing her hair after taking a bath. Her comb and the evening dress she was wearing had once belonged to one of Hiruzen's daughters who had unfortunately died years ago on a mission. She paused for a second and looked at herself in the mirror. The calm image Donna saw staring back at her didn't show the fear and nervousness within her. Her heart started beating faster as she thought about what was going to happen soon. It was her wedding night, and she had no idea what that would mean. Was Naruto's personality going to turn now that they were behind closed doors? Several of Donna's teachers had been married before becoming foundlings and had talked about their experiences once. Most of them talked about how painful it had been for them as their husbands used their bodies for satisfaction, while not considering them in the least. Only one of Donna's teachers had anything good to say about their wedding night. Turning away from the mirror, Donna sighed and put her brush down. "You're an Amazon warrior," she quietly said to herself. "You can deal with any challenge that you're faced with." Donna then got up and nervously walked towards the door. She took a deep breath and then opened the door. Naruto was dressed in some sleeping pants and wearing a ridiculous sleeping cap. To Donna's surprise, Naruto was setting up his old futon at the foot of the queen-sized futon that Asuma had bought earlier. Donna blinked her eyes several times before she blurted out, "By the gods, what are you doing, Naruto?" Her husband whipped his head around and stammered for a second before speaking. I was just setting up this futon for me tonight. Since you didn't seem all that comfortable with everything yet, I thought you wouldn't like the idea of us sharing a bed. To tell you the truth, I'm not that comfortable with it either. Not that I find the idea of sleeping with you, next to you repulsive or anything. It's just that this marriage is rather unexpected for me as well. So, you get the queen-size bed and I get my old futon. Of course, I'm willing to do something else if that's what you want. Donna's jaw dropped, and then moved up and down several times without her saying a word. What could she say? This wasn't how things were supposed to be, and she was thrilled because of it. Finally, Donna found her voice and said, "That sounds good to me, Naruto. Good night to you, husband." Donna barely whispered out husband as she crawled into bed. Naruto smiled on hearing what Donna said. He lied down in his bed and replied, "Pleasant dreams, Tenio." Unseen in the darkness, a faint blush appeared on Donna's cheeks. Donna woke up the sound of some birds singing at the window. Her eyes immediately opened, and she shot up into a defensive position on instinct. She warily looked around the room for a few seconds, trying to spot where an attacker might come from before she remembered where she was. This was the room in the Sarutobi compound given to her and her husband, to her and Naruto. A quick look at the mattress revealed that Naruto hadn't touched her futon, a fact that helped put Donna at ease. She then spotted something lying on Naruto's futon. Donna carefully walked over, picked up a note lying on Naruto's pillow, and began to read. "Hi Donna, I hope you find this. I'm going to be training, so if you want to see me after you wake up you can go to Compound's training group. If you don't, that's okay. Breakfast should be held at 7:30, so I'll see you then. I hope you had a good night's rest and I look forward to seeing you later today, Tenio." The princess's cheeks quickly turned pink as she read Naruto's note. Donna reread the note and then let out a scream of aggravation. She shouted out, "Why that man?" Donna then plopped on the floor shaking her head. "By Hera, none of this is making any sense. It almost makes me wish that Naruto was a slime ball. Not that I want to go through something like my sisters told me, but at least then I'd know what to expect. I can't even begin to guess what Naruto will do next." Not wanting to sit around and mop, Donna sat up and went over to the closet. She picked out a plain dress and quickly changed into it. Once that was done, Donna left the room and started wandering around the compound, taking it in. Sure, she had seen most of it last night, but the fact that she was in the home of her husband had made it difficult for Donna to focus on any details. Walking the halls allowed Donna to take in the various landscape paintings hanging on the walls and other details like how the floor creaked in random locations. Donna was paying so much attention to taking in her surroundings that she missed the sound of Konohamaru running down the hall until he nearly ran over her. The Amazonian princess leapt out of the way just in time to avoid a collision. She then turned to Konohamaru and shouted, "Why weren't you watching where you're going?" Konohamaru turned around and scratched his head. Sorry sister, I didn't mean to almost knock you over." Donna blinked her eyes. "Why did you call me your sister, Konohamaru?" It took a second for her to remember his name, as she had only been briefly introduced to the boy last night, and she had been more concerned about being married than remembering names. Konohamaru looked up at Donna like she was being crazy. "You're Naruto's wife. He's been a big brother to me since the day I was born. That makes you my sister." That did make sense to Donna. It was slightly disturbing to hear Konohamaru call her sister, but it did make sense. Donna nodded her head and replied, "Okay, Konohamaru. I was just a little surprised to hear you call me your sister. It's not something that I ever expected a man or boy to call me." She then started to walk down the hall towards the dining room. Konohamaru quickly scampered off after Donna. As soon as he caught up to her, he asked, "Is that because there are no guys where you're from?" The princess paused and looked down at the 8-year-old kid following her. "Yes, that's why I was surprised to hear you use that word." She then resumed her walk to the kitchen. Once again, Konohamaru asked Donna a question. "Why are there no guys where you came from? I mean, I get that you wouldn't want to spread your cooties around to kids, but what about your dads and uncles? Don't you want your father to read you a bedtime story?" That question threw Donna for a loop. How was she going to explain this to her persistent new friend? "I don't have a father, Konohamaru." "Oh, I see. Your father did something really bad that got him thrown out of his clan. I'm sorry to hear that, Donna. Don't worry, you got another father when you marry Naruto. His dad might have died the day he was born, but he's definitely someone to be proud of." Donna felt like groaning in frustration. "No, Konohamaru, I mean I literally don't have a father. My mother once molded some clay into the shape of a young girl and the gods gave the statue life, bringing my older sister Diana into existence. She saved the remaining clay and years later used it to model a baby. The blessing that gave birth to my sister must have remained in the clay because that model came to life. That is how I was born." Konohamaru gave her an "Are you serious?" look and then shook his head. Do you really expect me to believe that? I may be only 8, but I'm not naive. I know all about the birds and the bees ever since I caught my uncle watching a porno last year. Hell, Naruto even told me where Uncle Asuma and grandfather stashed their favorite porn so I'd have something to hold over their heads. The princess shivered as she remembered seeing some of her guards' more unconventional reading material. S.N.M. Yuri books from Japan were not her idea of good reading material. The fact that Konohamaru was so calm about seeing something like that really bothered her. What kind of world had she been sent to? Trying to regain her calm, Donna firmly stated, "Believe what you will, Konohamaru. However, no man has ever steeped foot on Themyscira, and my mother has never left the island since she set foot on it years before my sister was born." With that said, Donna left Konohamaru to head to the dining room. Breakfast was called shortly after Donna reached the dining room. Hiruzen sat at the head of the table with Asuma at the opposite end. The Sanim's other 2 sons sat at his right with their wives while the Uzumakis sat at his left. The young members of the Sarutobi clan filled up the spots between the couples as Asuma. Breakfast was simple as the Sarutobi clan didn't like the idea of eating fancy foods at every possible meal. Naruto and Hiruzen's children could practically recite verbatim the Hokage's speech about how too much noble dishes ruined one's ability to fight. Halfway through breakfast, Hiruzen turned to Donna and calmly spoke. "I have arranged for you to be tutored while Naruto is at the academy. While I have no doubt that you receive the best education available to your people, Donna, there are many things customary in these lands that are probably unknown to you. Koharu has agreed to be your tutor, and she will arrive in an hour to begin your lessons." Donna nodded her head and looked down at her plate. It was just another reminder of that accursed deal she had been forced to make since Faust sent her here. True, Naruto was not nearly as bad as she feared, even though he was confusing. However, the idea of lessons to her was like rubbing salt on a wound. About the only good thing she could see is that this would give her more knowledge of her surroundings. Naruto got to class early and kicked his feet up on his desk to relax before the teacher arrived. He closed his eyes and immediately Donna's image came to mind. His bride's image taunted Naruto, making his dream seem so close and yet even farther away than it had been. Naruto's dream and also his deepest wish was to have a family. Sure, he wanted to be a great ninja, but that was a secondary goal. Having a loving wife and a large family of children was his deepest wish. Until yesterday, it also seemed to be the most unlikely for him to ever get. Becoming a great ninja was rather easy. Naruto's bloodline gave him an innate advantage and Konoha had many opportunities for him to train. All that was needed to be great was for him to train, be willing to work, and put in the time needed to grow strong. His father was just one proof of that. Minato was the son of silk merchants with no shinobi heritage at all, and yet he became the only SS-class shinobi. Greatness was for those with the will and strength to take it. However, having a large and loving family was an infinitely more challenging task. Finding someone to love or winning the love of someone that you've been engaged to by your elders was difficult enough for regular men. Naruto knew that he'd have a much greater challenge given his burden. None of the clans wanted to have their blood connected to the Uzumaki's burden. A woman might have fallen in love with him one day, but Naruto knew that the open knowledge that one of his kids would have to bear the Kyuubi one day would prevent almost anyone from pursuing more than friendship. If Naruto had some siblings or cousins, his burden wouldn't be so bad in that department, since then there would be the chance that his burden would fall to a nephew or more distant cousin. Maybe that would be the case in another world, but Naruto had to deal with the fact that everyone knew one of his kids would be the 4th Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. As much as Naruto hated it, he knew that until recently his children would most likely be with Kunoichi's assigned to ensuring that the village had a suitable person to be the next Jinchuriki. It wasn't meant to be callous, but Naruto knew that it was him getting the raw deal out of the needs of the many outweighing the needs of the few. To have Donna as his wife was frightening and exhilarating. Grandfather's pronouncement had shocked Naruto, and he had been frightened by it. Naruto didn't have a clue how to be a good husband and didn't want to miss this opportunity to have a loving family of his own. The Sarutobis treated him like family, but they weren't his clan. With Donna he had the chance to have the family he would have had if Madara hadn't attacked. She was everything he secretly dreamed of in a wife. Donna was beautiful beyond words to Naruto. He didn't mean to sound like a fool when he first spoke to her, but her beauty honestly made him think that she was a Tenyo. Her strong personality and kind heart made her seem even more beautiful to him. Even though they were married because of her unfortunate arrival, Naruto couldn't help feeling like the kami were giving him a golden opportunity. Naruto hoped that he could one day get Donna to love him as he was more than halfway in love with her. The question burning in Naruto's mind at the moment was how to get Donna to start liking him. He was trying to be her friend since that was supposed to help newlywed couples in arranged marriages get along. However, the fact that Donna's people were apparently hostile towards men made things tricky for Naruto. How do you impress a girl that doesn't want to be impressed? Opening his eyes, Naruto quickly located the various fangirls and then their prey of the month. What attracted those girls to their targets? Sure, it was a bit insulting to Donna to try and get advice by observing fangirls, but the same principles should hold. After all, the problems with fangirls were that they were too vocal about their attraction, couldn't give a guy some peace, and usually failed to keep up their training. From what Naruto could see, there were two constants in the prey the fangirls stalked. First, the guys were constantly described as handsome or hot. Naruto didn't think that would help him much given that Donna's people were biased against men. If it did, at least he knew that he'd be acceptable given some of the comments he had heard over the years. The other constant was that the guys the fangirls were after were currently doing the best in school. Now that had some definite possibilities. Perhaps Donna would come to like him if he could prove that he'd become a great ninja. Currently, Naruto moved between being the third and the first place student in the class. Sure, he gave his training 100%, but he never really had something driving him before to stay in first place. With this idea in mind, Naruto pulled out one of his textbooks and began to reread one of the upcoming chapters. Koharu sat down on her knees with Donna resolutely sitting in front of her. The old advisor carefully looked over her new pupil. While her posture was serene, there was a fire in Donna's eyes that Koharu was happy to see. Once her inspection was over, Koharu nodded her head and began to speak. Before we begin, I want to know one thing. What do you think that these sessions are supposed to do for you? Donna looked up at Koharu and defensively said, I don't know for sure. However, my best guess is that this is some way to make me into some sort of ideal wife for Naruto. In her mind, Donna found herself to be more defensive around Koharu than around Naruto. She had trouble admitting it even in her mind, but Koharu put the princess on edge. After all, the village elder was the one to suggest she be married off to Naruto. Koharu let out a small snort and replied, This is Konoha, not the daimyo's court. Ninjas deal with reality and don't expect anything to be ideal. How can we expect you, someone from another land and culture, to be an ideal wife when even the noble's daughters can't meet those ridiculous expectations? Koharu paused to shake her head at the idea before continuing. My purpose here is to give you the tools needed to be a good matriarch of a ninja clan. It is expected that both husband and wife share in the duties needed to keep a clan running. Usually, these duties are divided up by mutual agreement of the couple. However, I will be focusing your initial training on domestic tasks since you are currently a civilian along with lessons to blend in here. Over the next few weeks I will be teaching you how to handle finances, local laws, detecting and neutralizing poisons, the current power structure in both Konoha and the Land of Fire, and finally, some highlights of the culture of this land. You'll also be provided with several standard books that are very popular among wives in this village for advice in cooking and sex. However, that falls under the realm of independent study. With a casual motion, Koharu unsealed several thick textbooks and a relatively thick folder. She then pointed to the books and said, These are the standard textbooks used to teach a person how to handle clan finances. They hold all of the laws relating to clan finance, and detailed instructions on how to file all of the necessary paperwork, and what each document represents. Usually, we start teaching children about these laws when they turn 12. That means you will have to be put on an accelerated education program in order to catch up with your peers. Luckily, you are not in the Ninja Academy or one of the other trade schools, and that gives you the time to dedicate towards the accelerated program. This, Koharu paused as she pointed to the folder, is a copy of the Uzumaki clan's financial status. Currently, all of the clan's assets are being held in trust by the Hokage and managed by several retainers. Control of the clan's accounts will be given over to you and Naruto when either one of you becomes a Chunin, or one of you becomes 18. Whether you continue to let retainers manage the accounts, or you actively take over the accounts is for the two of you to decide. I brought these with me so that you can see the responsibilities that are facing you and why you have to study hard. Donna picked up the folder and began to leaf through it. Her eyes bulged out when she saw all of the various accounts and business interests. It was a good thing that Donna was sitting down because she felt dizzy looking at everything that belonged to her new family. How can Naruto have so much to his name? Koharu smirked and replied, The Uzumaki were an old and successful ninja clan in both business and in being shinobi. They constantly invested the money they earned wisely and were nobles of a small island. All of the clans save for Kushina were killed early in the Second Shinobi War. Their assets were transferred to Kushina when the Land of Whirlpools was annexed into the Land of Fire. The fact is, Kushina or Naruto could easily have become a noble of serious power in the daimyo's court if they weren't bound by their duty. Naruto quickly entered the Sarutobi compound and hurried over to his new room. He opened the door to see Donna reading part of the Fire Codex. Memories of reading that dry collection of law books made Naruto wince in sympathy. Just as he was about to speak, Donna let out a scream of frustration. Why by the gods are there so many laws? Donna looked ready to toss the book as she continued to blow off steam. More than 2/3 of these laws are just instructions on what to do if a case varies from a set of circumstances or covers such minutiae that one could cut a dozen laws down to one law if a little brainpower was used. A chuckle from Naruto caused Donna to whip her head around and see that she wasn't alone. For a second, Donna just sat and stared at Naruto before she started to blush in embarrassment. Naruto quickly spoke up. I said the same thing when I had to study all of those laws. Grandfather told me that we have so many stupid laws because the daimyos like to keep the lawyers busy. After all, they can't sue anyone if they're arguing over how many cats can tap dance in the forest. Donna blinked her eyes and then giggled. That would explain it. One of my tutors back home talked about how lawyers were growing to be a problem in Patriarch's world when the last survey team was sent out. I guess the rulers of these lands decided to neutralize that threat, and this is the result. Naruto nodded his head and then walked over to his closet to put his backpack away. He quickly put his stuff away and turned to look at his wife. An idea popped into his head and he called out, "Hey Donna, how would you like to go out and do some training?" Really? Donna asked with hope heavily lacing her voice. The past couple of days had really been stressful and the princess wished that she could do some training to relax. However, she hadn't gotten the chance between her stint in jail, the railroaded marriage, and her lessons. Donna hadn't asked if she could have some time to train while with Kohara because she didn't think the older woman would approve. Yes, we can go train, Donna, Naruto happily replied as he began to explain. We can't use any of the public training grounds since those are only for ninjas. Even the training grounds I'm allowed onto as an academy student for extra practice are forbidden to civilians. However, there is nothing wrong with a family member using a private training ground. It's actually kind of an open secret in the village that civilian family members of a ninja clan, or even a ninja who owns their own home, practice on family training grounds. It's allowed because it helps provide some home security for the active ninjas and provides a pool of replacements if Konoha ever suffers manpower shortages. Donna quickly put her books away and called out, "What are we waiting for? Let's go to the training ground." As soon as the princess put her last book away, she got up and started walking towards the door. Naruto gulped and then nervously called out, "Could you wait a second, Donna?" The princess turned around and gave her husband a hard glare. "What is it, Naruto? I've gone through a lot since coming to Konoha and I need to blow off some steam. The sooner we get to that training ground, the sooner I can relax." Donna, Naruto silently prayed that what he was about to say wouldn't offend his wife. "You might want to change into something more suitable for training. Those clothes aren't made for training." Donna glanced down at her outfit and sighed. The dress she was wearing wouldn't take the abuse of her usual workouts. Her eyes then narrowed slightly as she turned to look at Naruto. "How did you know that?" Clothing choices for kunoichi is something we covered in the academy last month. The girls need to know how to blend in with civilians and the guys need to learn how to spot a kunoichi that's trying to blend in. I got a good score on that course, so if you want, I can help you sort out which outfits are which quicker. Donna thought about it for a second. On the one hand, the idea of a man, even if he was Naruto, helping her out on something so personal felt wrong. On the other hand, Donna had to admit that her impromptu wardrobe was growing on her, and she didn't want to ruin any outfits yet. "Okay, Naruto, I'll listen to your suggestions." The duo went into Donna's closet and quickly moved in on a selection of Kushina's old teenager outfits. After a few minutes, Donna selected a kunoichi grade red blouse and some jeans. Naruto then left the room and Donna came out a few minutes later in her new outfit. Ino was cheerfully walking down the streets of Konoha towards the market center. Her shift at the flower shop was over and her father had handed over her wages for the week. That meant that it was time for her to go shopping. Those new shoes she saw yesterday would be a perfect addition to her wardrobe. She would have gone to the shoe store as soon as she got off of work if it wasn't for the fact that you don't go shopping after working in dirt. That meant that she had needed to take a detour back home to clean up, but the shoes would be worth it. Just as Ino was turning a corner, she heard the sound of someone practicing. Normally, that wouldn't be a surprising sound in a residential section. However, this particular neighborhood didn't have any ninjas living in it who had their own training ground. There was the Uzumaki home, which had a training ground due to the Yondaime buying and demolishing several neighboring houses, but no one used it. After all, you don't use someone else's training ground, and it was known that Naruto used the Sarutobi training grounds because he was the Sandaime's ward. Curiosity quickly got the better of Ino. She looked over at the brick wall surrounding the Uzumaki home to check if anyone was watching her. Seeing that the street was empty, Ino walked over to the wall and started to climb it. Ino quickly scurried up the wall and poked her head over to look in on the training ground. To her shock, Naruto and Princess Donna were fighting in one of the training rings. Donna stood firmly with a little give, holding her arms in a boxing hold for quick defense or offense. Naruto was lightly standing on the balls of his feet with his arms set up for a counterattack. Suddenly, Donna shot forward and sent a stone-shattering punch at Naruto. The shinobi in training quickly swerved out of the way of the punch, grabbed onto Donna's arm, and attempted to throw the princess. However, Donna launched a punch with her other arm, forcing Naruto to let go to avoid the punch. The couple circled around each other 3 times, and then Naruto started on the offense. Ino watched in amazement as the young couple fought back and forth. Donna kept on using unknown taijutsu techniques, not that surprising since she was from another country, while Naruto stuck to his usual acrobatic style based on monkey and toad katas. Both styles were very different, and yet, both spoke of power and strength. Neither style was stronger or better, they just went about things in a different manner. Finally, Donna was able to get the upper hand by successfully grabbing Naruto in a hold with the feel of her breasts distracting her husband enough to end the match. Donna grinned as Naruto gave up. There, that should show you that Amazonian techniques are the best. Naruto quickly turned around and replied, "Hey, my taijutsu is first class. It's not my fault it's next to impossible to think when you're holding me close." "What is that supposed to mean, Naruto? That sounds like you're just making excuses." Ino couldn't help feeling a perverse pleasure at Naruto's discomfort. Here was one of the best students in the class being reduced to a nervous kid before their crush. That thought immediately made Ino narrow her eyes. Could Naruto have a crush on the princess? It would certainly explain why he was training with her head on the Uzumaki training grounds. Naruto probably thought it was romantic to fight his crush, boys. Fearful of upsetting his wife, Naruto carefully said, "Your beauty makes it difficult to focus on you just as a fighter. Those suppression holds of yours force your opponent to realize how talented you are. Combine that with a lack of oxygen because you've mastered that move and any guy would lose." Donna blushed slightly at Naruto's praise. "Thanks for the compliment, Naruto, and thank you for bringing me here to train." Naruto shrugged his shoulders and replied, "You're welcome. Don't forget that you can come here anytime to train Donna." Naruto took a step closer to Donna and then continued, "I know you're not completely comfortable with our marriage. To tell you the truth, I have my own fears about our marriage. I want to make this work, so please talk to me if something ever bothers you." Naruto's eyes shifted nervously, and his lips quivered slightly in fear. "I know you weren't entirely comfortable last night sharing a room with me. If you want, I can talk to grandfather about letting you move into the Uzumaki house. I don't want you to move, but I'll happily do it if you want it, Donna." The princess closed her eyes and thought about Naruto's offer. It was tempting. If she was living on her own, it would be easy to pretend that she wasn't married. However, her mother always taught her to do what was right and not do what was easy. But what was the right thing to do in this situation? On the one hand, her Amazon upbringing dictated that she try to minimize contact with men and find a way home. On the other hand, she was also taught to never break her word, and her word dictated that she was Naruto's wife even if she had been pressured into the agreement. After a minute of careful debating, Donna opened her eyes. "Thanks for the offer, Naruto. However, I'll stay where I am. It's still difficult for me, but I need to accept and live with being your wife. That can't be done hiding in the Uzumaki household." Donna paused for a second before crossing the Rubicon. "I suppose that we should go make that offering to Inari now?" "We can only if you want, Donna. I won't force you to do anything you don't want to do." Once again, a faint blush appeared on Donna's face. "I'm not thrilled at the idea, Naruto. However, my people know that one doesn't risk offending the gods. If it is customary for newlyweds to make an offering to Inari, then we should make one." Ino saw that the couple was moving towards the gates and quickly climbed down the ledge. She then hurried around the corner and hid herself until she was sure that Naruto and Donna were gone. Once she was safe from discovery, Ino grinned like a madman. Her inner gossip was doing backflips at the news that Naruto was married. Practically every girl at school knew that Naruto was hottie. He was in the untouchable category only because of his burden. Who would want to date a man knowing that he'd have to pass down a curse to his kids? If it wasn't for that, then Ino figured she would have given a crack at Naruto. However, that was all moot because he was married. How could this news have stayed hidden? How did she fail to see it when she met Princess Donna yesterday? That didn't matter to Ino at the moment. All that really mattered was sharing the news and making sure everyone knew that she had found out this juicy secret. Naruto walked into the classroom and saw every student furiously chatting back and forth. However, they all shut up as soon as he was spotted. This caused Naruto to frown in confusion and worry. His classmates only did this when something major had been sent through the grapevine about someone. But that didn't make any sense. Naruto was certain that he was a non-point on the gossip's radar. He had only encountered one of the main gossipers once while with Donna, so Naruto was certain he was clear on that account. Such beliefs were destroyed when Kiba walked into the classroom, slapped Naruto on the back, and shouted out, "Hey buddy, I heard that you landed yourself a great piece of ass." Kiba was immediately given a remedial lesson by Naruto on why you do not to anyone's significant other in a crass manner. Without pausing to think, Naruto grabbed Kiba's hand and flipped the young Inuzuka over his head. This throw was immediately followed by a jump kick to the gut that sent Kiba crashing through the window and into the school pool. Hinata, Ino, and Sakura all pulled out scorecards giving Naruto 10s for taking out Kiba. Iruka walked in on this scene and shook his head. It looked like it was going to be one of those days. Teaching children to be ninjas could be very rewarding, but there were times when it was nothing but trouble. Given that they were teaching young teenagers how to perform superhuman feats, it was expected to have at least one nasty fight break out a week and a major incident once a month. Half of the academy's budget had to be allocated for repairs and medical care. Wanting to get the headache over with, Iruka pulled out a student altercation form and began collecting the necessary information. Alright, who was involved in this incident, who got thrown out of the window, and why was this done? One of the students spoke up. Sir, Kiba was sent through the window by Naruto because Kiba said I heard that you landed yourself a great piece of ass. He probably said this because of the rumors going around that Naruto is married to the princess that appeared in the village a few days ago. Iruka nodded his head as he filled out the form. He then walked over to the hole in the walk and looked down at the pool. One of the groundskeepers was fishing Kiba out of the pool, so all Iruka did was nod his head. Knowing his luck, the mutt would be back in his class after lunch. Iruka pulled out a red pencil and quickly drew a square around the damaged wall. With the area marked, he walked back to his desk and sat down. Naruto was still standing and starting to get nervous. It was known to everyone that Iruka would come up with some sort of humiliating or annoying punishment if he caught the students destroying school property. Hell, there were rumors circulating that it was Iruka who suggested Itachi's punishment when the Uchiha protege accidentally burnt down the school gym. Nothing was ever confirmed about Iruka's involvement, but everyone knew that Itachi wasn't ever going to talk about that incident fueling the rumors. Just as Naruto feared, Iruka politely coughed and called out to the class. This little incident appears to have been caused by rumors. Hearsay is the worst enemy a ninja can face, as there is no way to know what is true and what is false from rumors. Therefore, we will sort this all out now. Naruto, come to the front of the class. Naruto did as he was told and stood in front of Iruka's desk. He then heard Iruka say, You will now tell the class all of the pertinent facts relating to you and the young lady in question in order to clear up these rumors. Yep, it was as bad as Naruto feared it would be. He sighed and did as he was instructed. In order to both ensure that Princess Donna is supported if her nation is able to re-establish contact with her and punish her for attacking several ninjas, the Hokage had her marry me. We signed the marriage papers 2 days ago, and Donna has been staying home learning more about the Land of Fire since then. That is all you need to know. Iruka took one look at the surprised and information-hungry students and decided that Naruto would have enough punishment from all of the students trying to pump him for more information at lunch. That plus the threat of a worse punishment he attacked anyone wanting information should be enough for Naruto at the moment. Iruka really couldn't blame Naruto for beating up someone who was trash-talking his wife. Kiba really needed to get control of his mouth and libido. There were plenty of places where Kiba would have gotten a knife in the gut for talking like that. Donna lay in one of the semi-private sections of the female onsen trying to relax from study stress. Kohara had suggested that she try the onsen for both cultural immersion and relaxation. The whole experience was very different to Donna. The Amazons might not have had any nudity taboos, but it was disconcerting to just be lounging about naked in public. However, Donna had to admit that the softly bubbling mineral water felt absolutely wonderful. The princess closed her eyes and listened as 2 more people entered the onsen. See forehead, I told you that Naruto and that princess were married. You should know by now that I always find the most interesting things that are going on. Unlike other people, I don't need to embellish anything to tell a juicy story. Shut up, Eno Pig. Just because you got one major scope does not mean you always tell the truth. Need I remind you about that little story you told about those 2 jonins last month? I seem to recall you being forced to run around Konoha 100 times by one of those jonins while he was screaming at you about how unyouthful it was for you to spread lies of unnatural tendencies. I also recall you having to wear that ugly green spandex suit while running. How many photos of you in that thing still exist? It was an easy mistake to make. How else do you explain a guy with that haircut and in that outfit constantly bugging one specific ninja? I know that you were drawing the same conclusions as I was, I just voiced them first. Besides, I actually heard Princess Donna and Naruto refer to themselves as husband and wife, but you didn't believe me. With good cause, Eno Pig, that incident I mentioned really hurt your credibility. Sure, the 2 of them have been seen together, but there wasn't anything solid until Naruto beat up Kiba. One of them being interested in the other, or even the duo being boyfriend and girlfriend, was understandable. Believing that they were married was tough to swallow. Fair enough, I guess, forehead. It was convenient for Iruka to force Naruto to explain his relationship with the princess after that incident with Kiba. Although, it's not like Naruto deserved to be punished for sending Kiba through the school window. I still can't believe that Kiba said those things to Naruto about his wife. You'd think that living with his mother and older sister would keep Kiba from making rude remarks like that. Donna chose to stop listening to the girls at this point as their conversation left her with many questions to think about. The first and most pressing issue for her was the fact that her marriage to Naruto was now common knowledge. She wanted to try and make it work even though the idea of marriage made her uncomfortable. As she told Naruto, she was trying to accept being his wife. However, she wasn't sure how she'd do at that now that everyone knew. How would everyone react around her? Could she handle everyone talking about her and Naruto? Another question that was bugging Donna was what she should do about this incident between Naruto and Kiba. The princess knew she needed more information before she could make a final decision, but she was able to pick up a few facts. Kiba apparently had spoken ill of her, and Naruto had hurt him in retaliation. This caused Donna to become extremely confused. Part of her was pleased that someone who spoke ill of her had gotten punished. While Donna wasn't spoiled, the thought of someone trying to ruin her good name made her want to pound something. Part of Donna was annoyed that Naruto had fought Kiba. She was an Amazonian warrior. She didn't need anyone to fight on her behalf. However, part of Donna was excited that Naruto had defended her honor, and that frightened her. Why was her heart racing at the thought of Naruto defending her honor? Donna's mind felt like screaming in horror at the sensation. It just wasn't natural for an Amazon. Yet Donna felt thrilled by the feeling and the thought that Naruto would just jump in to help her. She also felt a sense of power over Naruto. It seemed that he would do something for her even if she didn't ask. All in all, it was very confusing for the young Amazonian woman. Naruto got home late in the evening. He had spent some time after school reading in the library, got in some extra training, and stopped at Ichiraku Ramen for dinner. If anyone were to ask him, Naruto would say that he was just trying to get in some extra practice to secure the Rookie of the Year award. However, no one asked Naruto, and so he didn't have to lie. The truth was he was delaying coming home so that he'd have more time to think about how he'd explain everyone knowing about their marriage and that little incident with Kiba. How was he supposed to explain this to Donna? She obviously wanted to keep their marriage low-key, and now it was the talk of the town. Then there was what he did to Kiba for him to consider. Yes, a lot of girls would be thrilled to have a knight in shining armor defending their honor. However, Donna didn't seem like that kind of girl. Naruto was almost sure that she'd rip him a new one over this for some reason. What was he supposed to do? Naruto took a deep breath and steeled his resolve. The only option he could see was to tell Donna the truth, apologize when she got mad, and take any lumps she'd feel he deserved. No doubt Grandpa Sarutobi would be able to come up with a better plan, but Naruto couldn't talk to him about this. It wasn't that Naruto didn't want to talk about this or he thought that his grandpa wouldn't listen to him. Naruto didn't want to talk because he was sure that the grapevine would somehow catch wind of any talk, and it would just compound his problem. Praying for the best, Naruto entered the Sarutobi compound and started looking for Donna. He found his wife sitting in the main clan library reading a collection of courtly poetry. Donna's ears twitched slightly when she heard Naruto enter the room, and she quickly looked up to see her nervous husband. She watched as Naruto gulped and approached her. "Donna," Naruto nervously said, "can I talk with you?" Donna nodded her head and motioned for him to sit down. Naruto quickly sat down on the nearby love seat. He then explained everything that happened with Kiba and the rumors going around the school. There was a momentary pause before Naruto continued. "I'm sorry that news of our marriage got out. Not that I'm ashamed or embarrassed about being married to you. In fact, I'm extremely proud of being your husband since you're so great. It's just that, well, you didn't want it to be known and now it's out." Not wanting to hear a stream of apologies, Donna put 2 fingers on Naruto's mouth, shutting him up. She then looked him in the eye and said, "I already knew, Naruto. I'm not happy that everyone knows about our marriage or the fight you got in. While this associate of yours deserved to be beaten up, I should have had that right as it was me he was speaking about. Still, I do appreciate that you told me about this, and to a certain extent I am happy you felt the need to defend me." She then pulled away from Naruto and sighed. "I just don't know what we should do. I've been thinking about this ever since I heard some of your classmates talking about this situation today. We can't deny the truth and we can't make everyone forget. I suppose we just have to move on and live with it, but I'm not sure how." Donna put her head in her hands and nearly cried. Things just kept hitting her one right after another. How was she supposed to deal with everything if she barely got the chance to breathe? If it wasn't for how confusingly considerate Naruto had been, Donna was sure she would have already lost it. Trying to think of a way to solve this problem, Naruto racked his brain for an answer. He then carefully said, "I could ask Grandpa if he or one of his friends knows a few women who have been in arranged marriages to talk with you. They might be able to offer tips on how to deal with all these changes." He paused for a minute before continuing, "We could also try to do a few things that couples normally do now that everyone knows about us. Uncle Asuma always seems happy when he comes back from dates, so there has got to be something relaxing about them. It would be something else different for you, but having a good time might help." Donna thought about what Naruto said for a few minutes. A part of her mind that sounded like her mother was practically screaming not to do anything that Naruto had suggested. The princess quickly locked that voice away and focused on what she had available. Painful though it might be, Donna accepted the fact that she was on her own and had to play by Konoha's rulebook. That meant she had to look forward and take things head on. After carefully considering everything Donna said, that sounds like a wise course of action. Why don't we ask around about what would make for a good date tomorrow, and then decide when to have our date, and what to do on it? Matsuri Yamanaka was an old, half-blind woman who was Hiruzen Sarutobi elder by almost 15 years. She lived in a small apartment just down the street from her grandson's house and was regularly visited by her great-granddaughter Ino. The old lady was sitting by the fireplace petting her guard dog as was usual for this time of day when she heard a knock on the door. Matsuri got up, picked up her cane, and hobbled over to the door calling out, "I'm coming, I'm coming. I might be a little slow in my old age, but I'm coming." She unlocked the door and opened it as far as the safety chain let it. The elder looked at the blurry teenage girl form in front of her and said, "Well, who goes there?" Donna hesitantly bowed her head trying to get the greeting correct. "Good day, elder, I am Donna Uzumaki. I heard that you might have some advice considering a situation I have found myself in, and I was hoping you could share your experience with me." The princess nervously watched as the elder woman tilted her head and started muttering to herself. "Donna Uzumaki, Uzuma - oh I see. You must be that princess that is married to Kushina's little boy I've been hearing so much about. Come in, just let me unhook this stupid chain and then we can sit and talk." Matsuri closed the door for a second to unhook the chain and then opened it again so that Donna could come in. She called out as she walked back towards her chair, "Don't let Sesshomaru fool you. He may act fierce, but my guard dog mostly pretends to be brave. Just give him a scratch behind the ears and he'll let you go." After giving the dog a good scratch behind the ears, Donna sat down next to Matsuri. The princess turned to the smiling old lady and said, "Thank you for taking the time to talk with me. I need some advice on my current situation." "And just which particular situation are you referring to as your current situation, my dear? Are you having trouble with marriage in general, nerves about having sex for the first time, or just frustrations on getting your husband to do what you want?" Donna's cheeks became slightly flushed and she said, "Marriage in general, elder. I'm not sure what rumors you've heard about my people, but Amazons don't marry. There are no men on Themyscira. All Amazonians are kept young by the will of the gods, and our numbers only grow when we find women washed up on our shores that we bring into the tribe. As you might be able to imagine, it has been difficult for me to adjust to all the differences between my home and Konoha." Matsuri closed her eyes and nodded her head. She then opened them and spoke. "Yes, I can see where being an Amazon would cause you some extra problems now that you're a wife. They probably make the challenges that I faced when I first came here from Tea Country seem simple." "You were from another country? I mean no disrespect. It's just that I thought you were from Konoha or at least one of the neighboring villages." The old woman gave a small snort when she heard Donna say that to her. "Bah, Konoha wasn't even half built when my husband decided to move the Yamanaka clan into the village and join the Senju pact that started this place. No, the Yamanakas were living in a small hamlet near the border with Tea Country when I was married to Inoma. My marriage was to seal a pact between the Yamanaka clan and my original home village. The village provided the clan with access to several important plants needed in many poisons, and in return the clan agreed to protect the village. The agreement held for years until the Tea Country daimyo had the village void the pact in the two shinobi war." Donna's hands balled themselves into fists, and she clenched teeth in anger. "You mean to tell me that you were bartered off like a supply of goods? How could you just go along with it?" Seconds after Donna said that, she received a swift smack in the face from Matsuri's cane. The old woman scowled at the princess. "You're hearing, but you're not listening. The pact served as my dowry and bride price as much as my marriage served to seal the pact. Do you think that my father just picked me at random? He chose me because my temperament was best suited to be a shinobi's wife. Were you expecting me to run away in order to find some sort of true love? I've got news for you, girl. Love marriages have just as many problems and horror stories as arranged marriages. It's up to the people in the marriage to decide whether their marriage will be a blessing or a burden. Inoma and I had a long and happy marriage because we constantly worked to make it a happy marriage. It wasn't easy, especially at first because we were strangers, but it became less difficult as we learned more about each other, and we even grew to love each other. Now I've only got a few pieces of advice for you in order to make your marriage work and get settled in here. First, don't hide yourself from the village. I'm not saying that you should go clubbing or try to be everyone's friend. Just spend some time around the village and get a few friendly acquaintances. Things are much easier when your neighbors like you. Second, always talk about your problems with your husband. He might complain about you nagging if you bring up problems all the time, but good communication helps a marriage work in the long run. Burying or ignoring problems only causes them to grow. Finally, use your own damn good sense to move your relationship along at your own pace. You should never force yourself to do something that makes you uncomfortable because everybody does that something by that point. You should also ignore someone who tells you that it's too soon to do something with Naruto. You're a married woman, so that means you and Naruto can do whatever you two feel like doing with each other so long as you both agree. Donna nodded her head and then sat back to think about what Matsuri had told her. After a few minutes she got up and bowed her head. Thank you, Elder, for giving me so much to think about. Is there anything I can do for you in repayment? Matsuri shook her head and then Donna said goodbye. A week after Donna's talk with the elder Yamanaka, the Uzumakis were on their first date at the theater. Naruto had wanted to go see King of Mortal Kombat 4, but Donna wanted to see a traditional play. Thus, the young couple was sitting in the prime seats of the old theater house surrounded by an audience that was on average 30 years older than them watching a no performance. There initially had been several glares from the older members of the audience who had spotted the Uzumakis. It wasn't anything personal. They just were expecting the kids to ruin the performance by not following proper etiquette, as so many others of their generation did. Luckily for the Uzumakis, both Naruto and Donna had read up on proper etiquette. Donna had read about it because she wasn't sure what is appropriate in Konoha. Naruto had reread his court etiquette books. Even though he'd rather eat rotting ramen than touch those books again, he didn't want to embarrass Donna more. This effort on their part resulted in the other members of the audience dropping their glares about midway through the first play. However, Naruto still couldn't figure out what Donna did to him that caused him to immediately change his mind and go see this play when she asked him. It didn't make any sense. They could be watching the most explosive movie of the summer thanks to the movie studio hiring several teams of jonins to help with the stunts along with buying all the old exploding tags, and yet they were here watching a play about a foolish fisherman. Donna watched the performance in fascination. It was so similar at times to the tragedies and comedies she had seen preformed back on Themyscira. Yet, it was also incredibly different at the same time. The styles, symbolism, and plotlines were completely different, and it drove home again just how different Konoha was from Themyscira. She was surprised when the first play ended and then the no performers started to do a humorous play. Donna leafed through her pamphlet and saw that there was supposed to be a short humorous play before the next drama. Yet another difference, she mused, because they never switched between tragedies and comedies back on Themyscira. For the next 2 hours, the Uzumakis watched the rest of the performance. Naruto soon realized that there were benefits to seeing the no performance when he saw how happy it made Donna. He couldn't really explain it, but seeing her smile was worth not seeing King of Mortal Kombat 4. The final performance was also more enjoyable as it told the tale of a wandering samurai trying to complete a quest. Once the performance was over, Naruto respectfully led Donna out of the theater. He turned to her and asked, "Do you want to go to dinner now or do something else first?" Donna thought for a moment and then said, "Let's go eat." Naruto nodded his head and quickly led his wife to one of more upscale restaurants in order to match their outfits. Besides, Naruto wanted to impress Donna a bit, and he figured that Ichiraku ramen simply would not do the trick. He led Donna to a grill and the couple was able to quickly get some seats. There was a minor delay in seating as the Uzumakis waited for a table to open up. It wasn't a problem for them as they got to quietly sit next to each other in the waiting area. Naruto enjoyed breathing in Donna's scent and the feel of her hand holding his. Donna found herself enjoying Naruto's presence, and smiled as the ever softer voice in her head trying to tell her that this was wrong finally shut up. Just as Donna was about to start a conversation with Naruto, a waiter walked up to the couple. The waiter bowed his head and said, "Sir, ma'am, your table is ready. Please follow me." He led the couple to a semi-private booth, lit the candle on the table, and handed each of them a menu. "My name is Domotendo and I will be your waiter this evening. Would you like some watered sake or tea to drink? We have several fine vintages and many blends to choose from." Naruto looked at Donna and said, "Why don't we go with the tea?" The princess nodded her head and said, "We'll have some of the Eastern autumn tea." The waiter nodded his head and left to go get the tea. By the time he returned, Donna and Naruto had selected their meals. The waiter set the tea set on the table, lit the fire under the tea kettle, and took the Uzumaki's orders. Donna looked at the tea set in confusion. She then glanced at Naruto and whispered, "I thought we were supposed to get some tea to drink. Why were we given a tea set?" A small smile appeared on Naruto's face. He then explained, "It's traditional to have loose tea in Fire Country and many of the surrounding lands." Naruto pointed to a small box and continued, "The tea is kept there, and you add as much or as little as you want to the infuser." The Konoha native paused to point to the small tea balls. "You then place them into your cup, pour in the hot water, and let the infuser sit until the tea is to your liking. Alternatively, you can just place the tea leaves into your cup and then pour the water." Donna nodded her head and said, "I understand. But why haven't I seen any of this before? We have tea all the time at home and I've never seen something like this. In fact, we usually have the tea cold poured from a large pitcher." That's because the Sotobi clan is an old ninja clan. This setup is typically used by civilians and especially by the nobility. The act of having tea for them is just as important and relaxing as the tea itself. It's different for ninjas. We have to be ready to go at a moment's notice. Thus ninjas, especially clans that were ninjas during the Warring Clans era, came to reserve the tea ceremony for special occasions and adopted the practice of preparing large batches of tea that can be drunk at any time. Many of the ninjas from non-shinobi background usually pick up the habit as well for the same reasons. After taking one more look at the tea set, Donna looked at Naruto. She then hesitantly asked, "Could you help me to make a good cup of tea? I've never done something like this before." Naruto nodded his head and then showed Donna how to prepare a cup of tea. Just as her cup was ready, the waiter arrived with their meals. Comfortable silence ruled at the Uzumaki table as both Donna and Naruto enjoyed their meal. Later on, they talked about how they both were doing in their studies. About an hour after the Uzumakis arrived at the restaurant, Naruto paid the bill and the happy couple walked back to the compound. When they got to the compound, Naruto and Donna were able to go to their room without being hit by a barrage of questions. This was because the Sarutobi men had mostly decided to go out on dates of their own, and Hiruzen had taken Konohamaru to watch an evening movie. Once in their quarters, Donna went to the bathroom to change while Naruto changed in the bedroom. As Donna was changing, her eyes caught the glint of light off of her bracers. The bracers reminded Donna of her Amazonian heritage as if trying to tell her that she was abandoning it. This caused Donna to scowl. She wasn't abandoning her heritage, it made her who she was. Instead of just letting her sense of guilt berate her, Donna reminded herself that the Amazonians used to have friends with men and sometimes even took lovers among the local men. Her guilt reminded her in a last-ditch attempt to stay alive that taking men as lovers was how Hercules was able to get through the defenses of old Themyscira. Donna closed her eyes and asked for the Olympians and the kami for aid. She then beat down her guilt by reminding herself that Hercules was one terrible incident. The Amazons were still bitter and humiliated by his actions, but only the most spiteful Amazonian could deny that there was goodness in men. Her mother might be shocked with Donna over Naruto if she ever found out, but Donna wasn't going to deny the growing relationship she had with him. She could still be an Amazon and be his wife. With this in mind, Donna finished getting ready for bed and then opened the door to the bedroom. She saw Naruto once again pulling out his futon that he had used every night. Donna's lips trembled for just a second before she said, "Put that futon away, Naruto." Her husband looked up in surprise. Donna," Naruto began. "Isn't it time for bed?" Donna nodded her head. "It is, but you're not going to be sleeping on that futon anymore." She sat down on the master futon, slid over slightly, and patted the spot next to her. "I think it's time you slept in your proper bed, husband." Naruto's eyes widened in surprise, but then he started packing his old futon away. While he was doing this, Donna got under the covers and then held the blanket up so that Naruto could get in as well. Once Naruto was under the covers, he flipped the light off and said, "Good night, my Tenyo." Donna slowly opened her eyes and was surprised to find herself looking down Naruto's pajama-covered chest. It had been over a month since they started sharing a futon, but this was first time that she had woken up first. Usually, Naruto would get up first for early morning training, causing her to partially wake up. The princess, due to being half asleep, would only vaguely remember Naruto's good morning Tenyo and the soft kiss he'd give her before she rolled back over to sleep. She'd then go back to sleep for another half hour to an hour before getting up for good. Not bothering to wonder why Naruto was still in bed, Donna took the chance to look at Naruto's sleeping face. She felt a blush forming as she saw how adorable he looked in the pre-dawn light. His face was calm, showing that he was at complete peace with the world. A quick glance at Naruto's arms confirmed to Donna what she thought she was feeling. His arms were wrapped around her, holding her like a child might hold a large teddy bear. It was a little strange for Donna to be held so firmly, and yet so gently. However, she soon dismissed the feeling of strangeness when she realized that Naruto probably always held her like this when they were asleep. In all honesty, the fact that Naruto held her didn't bother Donna at all. In fact, Donna hadn't even been bothered the first morning when she was gently woken by Naruto getting up. That's not to say that Donna hadn't been nervous that first night. Gods knew that it took the princess more courage to trust her husband next to her in the same bed than it would take to fight a Hydra naked and bare-handed. She had trusted Naruto. It was just that having him so close to her while she was so vulnerable required a level of trust closer to a leap of faith. The feelings of warmth, comfort, and closeness that Donna had felt waking up that first day were a fabulous return on her emotional investment. After a few minutes, Donna's eyes slowly drifted away from Naruto's sleeping body towards the calendar on the wall. Yesterday's date was circled in red, causing her to remember why Naruto was sleeping in. Naruto's graduation test had been yesterday, which he passed with flying colors. To celebrate, Naruto had promised that they could take today to do whatever they wanted together. Thus, Naruto's sleeping in. Donna carefully pried Naruto's arms off of her, got up, grabbed a change of clothes, and headed for the bathroom. She then locked the door and started to change. Sharing a bed with Naruto was one thing, but Donna wasn't about to risk her husband seeing her undressed. That and anything else relating to sexuality above a chaste kiss was by unspoken agreement forbidden for the moment. Donna simply wasn't comfortable with the idea at the moment, and Naruto never pushed. Of course, Naruto did care about what they did, and Donna clearly saw the desire in his eyes for more. It was just that he was more concerned with her happiness, and that knowledge made it hard for Donna to keep her cheeks from being permanently red. Now dressed in blue jeans and a red t-shirt with a gold star in center, Donna left the bathroom and walked over to her sleeping husband. She smiled as she looked down at him. Donna wouldn't voice it, but she was glad that she had been married to Naruto out of everyone in Konoha. After almost 2 months of being Mrs. Uzumaki, Donna had to admit that being married wasn't nearly as terrible as she had once thought. However, she was certain that this was mainly because Naruto was her husband. Hera help her, but her infuriatingly sweet husband had definitely slipped into her heart somehow. After thinking about it for a second, Donna realized that Naruto started sliding through the protections to her heart from the moment they met. He hadn't tried to control her or tell her what to do. Instead, he treated her like a friend, respected her decisions, and constantly seemed to be trying to impress her. Donna knew he meant a great deal to her, she just wasn't sure how much Naruto meant to her. Being the little sister to all of the Amazons had left Donna on completely new ground when it came to romantic relationships. She thus wasn't sure if she was in love with Naruto or simply liked him a great deal. All that the princess knew for certain was that if she wasn't already in love, she would be very soon. The scariest thing about that for her was that she wasn't afraid of being in love with her husband. Later that morning, Donna and Naruto were walking down Konoha's streets. Naruto had a small, slightly mischievous grin on his face while Donna walked beside him with a touch of confusion. Donna had requested that they do some training for fun. Naruto had agreed, but stated that they needed to go and pick something up first. The confusion for Donna was she had no idea what it was that Naruto needed to pick up, and she couldn't recognize this particular neighborhood of Konoha. This neighborhood bothered her with the constant furnace fumes and the heat billowing from the various smith shops that lined the streets, and only became more numerous as the duo continued to walk. The reek of industry made Donna feel nauseous. Being spread out across Themyscira, Amazons didn't have anything like this industrial zone. By the gods, Konoha would have made her feel claustrophobic if it wasn't for all of the greenery and her time in the citadel. What could be so important that Naruto had to bring them here? Just as Donna was about to ask if they could split up, Naruto said, "We're here." Donna glanced at the shop/workshop Naruto was looking at, and the first thing she saw was a statue of Raijin throwing lightning bolts like a demonic Zeus. Her eyes glanced around at the various statues of different kami ranging from human size to near figurine size. She quickly realized that this was a sacred statue shop, but that didn't explain why Naruto had brought her here. The family altar in the Uzumaki estate had a full set of statues to the important kami, so why were they here? Naruto led Donna into the store and walked over to the front desk. He then called out, "Hey Keiichi, how are you doing?" Keiichi looked up from the store books at Naruto and smiled. "Good morning Naruto, I'm doing fine. Your order is ready in the back." It was a little tricky because of how unique it was, but it's done just like I promised. Keiichi then walked over to the side, disappearing from sight for a second only to open the side door. He then stepped back, allowing the Uzumakis to enter the main workshop area. The Uzumakis walked around one of the dividers used to protect finished statues, and Donna gasped in shock. Sitting on 12 bases were statues of the Olympians. They had oriental features and their outfits were modeled on the daimyo's court regalia, but it was obvious to Donna that these statues represented her people's gods and goddesses. Donna took a step closer to the statues and then tripped onto one knee from sheer shock and surprise. Naruto caught his wife, preventing her from falling down. Donna looked up at Naruto and said, "Why?" Naruto gave Donna a smile and said, "I thought it would be a good thing if you could have an altar in the family shrine to your people's kami. This way you can keep in touch with your people's traditions. Besides, it never hurts to have too many friends on high when you're a ninja." Donna got up and gave Naruto a solid kiss on the mouth. After a few seconds she pulled away just enough so that they could talk while her arms were wrapped around his neck. "Thank you Naruto, thank you for this." She then let go so that Naruto could seal the statues in a storage scroll he had brought. Keiichi then led the Uzumakis to the counter where Naruto paid the half of the commission he owed the store for the Olympian set. Then the young couple left the shop. Donna was so happy at Naruto's gift that she was levitating a couple of centimeters off of the ground. Her levitation caused many people to stare at Donna in shock as the duo walked down the streets, but Naruto and Donna didn't care. Once the duo was out of the workshop neighborhood, Donna floated around to face her husband and asked, "Naruto?" Her husband stopped walking and glanced into her eyes. Donna then continued speaking. "Where are we going to put those statues?" I mean, are we going to be putting them in the Uzumaki estate or can we take them to the Sarutobi compound? Naruto closed his eyes and thought for a second. He then opened them and spoke. I think it would be best if we put the statues in the family estate. Since I've graduated from the Ninja Academy, I'm legally an adult, and we're probably going to be moving out of the Sarutobi compound sometime in the next few weeks. Not that Grandpa would kick us out, it's just that after a while it wouldn't be socially acceptable for us to be staying at the compound when we can clearly survive on our own. Donna nodded her head and then said, I understand and I agree that putting the statues in our house would be best. However, I would like to have Hera's statue in our room until we move out. She is my people's chief patron. With a friendly smile, Naruto replied, That's alright with me. The next day, Naruto headed to the academy and joined the crowd of other genins who were pushing to look at the bulletin board where the team listings were on. After a few minutes, Naruto managed to reach the board and quickly scanned it for his name. He quickly spotted it under Team 7 with Sai Shimura and Shiho Kagetsu as his teammates, and Kakashi Hatake as his sensei. After Naruto memorized his meeting location, he left the crowd. When Naruto got to the gym, he saw Sai sitting on one of the bleachers calmly sketching in his notepad. Naruto didn't really know Sai. They were in different classes and only passed each other in the hallways. Sai looked up from his pad and glanced at Naruto. So you're here. I suppose you're not completely dickless like the rumors say you are. Naruto blinked his eyes in shock and then he shouted out, What the hell? What are you talking about? The artistic member of the team noncommittally replied, According to the school grapevine you have no dick. That's why your wife is still a virgin after you two have been married for so long. In reply, Naruto pulled out a kunai and threw it into the bleacher next to Sai. Next, he quickly jumped up to Sai's location and pulled the other ninja's sketchbook out of his hands. Naruto then gave Sai a dangerous smile before he spoke up. I'm sure we can get along, Sai, and become good teammates. However, you need to remember one thing if this is to happen. Never talk about my relationship with my wife. Is that clear? The pale teenager gave an annoying smirk and replied, Understood, dickless. Now hand me back my notebook. For a second, Naruto wanted to rearrange Sai's face because of the sheer aggravation he was generating. In the end, Naruto simply handed back the notebook because he realized that fighting Sai now wasn't worth it. Spars would be enough to wipe that look off of his face. Just after Naruto handed Sai the notebook, the gym door opened, drawing both boys' attention. They saw Shiho walk into the gym looking a little nervous. She walked over to the duo and said, This is the correct place for Team 7 to meet, right? When both Naruto and Sai nodded their heads, Shiho let out a sigh of relief. Oh, that's great news. I wasn't sure if they just post our team locations or if they actually had them hidden in a code. For the next 2 hours the trio mostly sat in silence. Naruto pulled out a sealing book and brushed up on his studies. Sai continued to make sketch after sketch. As for Shiho, she mostly played with her thumbs in a nervous manner. Finally Kakashi walked into the gym reading his Aika. He looked up from his book and glanced at his prospective students. He then sighed and said, You all look as promising as a sack of potatoes, but you might surprise me. Tell me your name, what you like, and what your dream is. Naruto spoke first. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like training, learning new jutsus, and especially being with my wife. My dream is to be a great ninja with a large family. Kakashi replied in an amused tone. From the sounds of things, you're already partly there in having a large family. This earned Kakashi a glare from Naruto which he completely ignored. Kakashi then pointed to Sai and said, You next. Sai replied, I am Sai Shimura. I have an interest in drawing which I use in my fighting style. I have no dreams for the future as one shouldn't worry about such things. The rest of the team was a little disturbed with how Sai answered Kakashi. Both Naruto and Shiho were questioning themselves if it really was a good idea to be on Sai's team. As for Kakashi, he was wondering who was so crazy as to allow Danzo to breed. Trying to move on, Kakashi said, Okay, and now for the team's kunoichi. Shiho faintly blushed and spoke in a slightly nervous manner. Hello, my name is Shiho Kagetsu. I enjoy tea, puzzles, and logic tests. It is my hope to one day become part of the cryptography department. Kakashi nodded his head as he considered what his team had told him and what the academy reports had mentioned. After considering everything, he spoke up. Now that that's out of the way, we can focus on training this team. First, does anyone have any idea what your team's purpose is as a unit? The three genins looked at each other in confusion for a few seconds. Finally Shiho spoke up. Sir, I don't think that any of us know each other well enough to guess as to what our team is supposed to be. I know that I scored well in field medicine and cryptography, but I have no idea what Naruto and Sai can do. Both boys nodded their heads and then Naruto spoke up. Well, I'm good at ninjutsu. I've got solid skills when it comes to taijutsu, and I've got some basic sealing knowledge. Sai mentioned that he uses ninjutsu, and he's got a tanto, so I think he's got some skill in kenjutsu. It seems we're a cross between an assault squad and a recon squad. Kakashi nodded his head. That was a good guess, Naruto. In actuality, your team has no specialized purpose at the moment. Genins generally don't have the skill needed for specialized teams. However, Team 7 is predisposed to be an assault squad, collector variant if you 3 progress as your previous teachers predicted. The only question remains is whether or not you'll be reaching your potential under my tutelage. Sai's eyes narrowed slightly, showing that he wasn't completely skilled in masking his emotions yet. Would you explain that statement? Kakashi nodded his head. No problem, Sai. The fact is, the village can't afford to have the number of jonin needed to teach all of the academy graduates stuck doing genin level missions for the year or two that is needed to graduate the team members to chunin. Only the most promising genin teams are given the benefit of jonin sensei. Tomorrow I'll be testing this team to see if you're worth my time. If you're not, you'll be stuck in the genin pool. If you end up there, you can only expect D-rank missions and night classes in advanced ninja techniques at the academy. You'll remain in the pool until you either get pulled to be a replacement, get promoted to chunin, or quit. At that moment under Themyscira, Hades' eyes were burning, having just sent John sailing into the air. He then spat out, "It's useless to fight against immortals. I'm the god of the underworld." As soon as he said this, zombie warriors spouted from the ground and marched towards the Justice League. The fallen god noticed his former lover and his daughter moving to defensive positions. Perhaps he should spar them and teach them not to disobey their lord? He'd have to consider it if they could survive long enough to prove worthy of being near him. Without warning, a voice firmly called out from the shadows, startling both Hades and his opponents. "Getsuga Tenho," the voice shouted out, sending a wave of black energy at the zombies, crumbling them into dust. Everyone watched as a middle-aged, scruffy-looking man walked out of the shadows wearing a long black coat and holding a long black katana. The man looked at the 8 heroes who had been fighting against Hades and said, "Abandon your fear. Look forward. Move forward and never stop. You'll age if you pull back. You'll die if you hesitate." Flash blinked his eyes and muttered, "Okay, who invited tall, dark, and creepy to the party?" Hades took one look at the interloper and started shifting into his demonic dragon warrior form. "How dare you come here, Zangetsu? These realms are not for your kind. My brothers will come to my aid just to drive you back to your own accursed realm." Zangetsu continued walking closer to Hades. "I have been asked here to protect the Amazons, and so I am here. Besides, they understand that I am only here by the request of their second favorite niece to protect these lands from you and not to try and establish a foothold in this realm." Now, Zangetsu paused for a second to shift to looking like an older teenager. "Let mortals watch while gods fight." Zangetsu launched himself at Hades, who now fully looked like a humanoid demon. Hades blocked Zangetsu's blade with a shield made out of fire. He then summoned a halberd and moved to attack his fellow death deity. The duo glared at each other, and then separated. They then rushed back at each other, attacking at divine speeds so fast that not even Superman could see more than a blur. Occasionally, Hades would use his fiery breath attack or Zangetsu would use his Getsuga Tenho. As the battle progressed, Hades became more and more enraged while Zangetsu remained calm and collected. While the titanic battle continued, the Justice League took the chance to regroup. Green Lantern helped to prop Superman up, who was having trouble staying awake due to Hades' mystical aura when the god backhanded him. Batman looked at the two warring gods and said, "We need to come up with a plan to defeat Hades." Wonder Woman turned her head slightly to look at her masked teammate while still keeping an eye on the fight. "That wouldn't be advisable. None of us are strong enough to fight a god and win. We're only alive right now because of this Zangetsu coming to our aid." Queen Hippolyta looked at the battle and noticed that Hades was being directed back towards the gate of Tartarus. She then glanced at the key and her eyes gleamed with a plan. Ever so quietly she whispered to her daughter, "We need to close the gates. If we do that, Hades' power will weaken. With luck, Zangetsu will force Hades back into the underworld as the door closes." Wonder Woman nodded her head. "I'll do it, Mother." She then flew to the key before Hippolyta could say anything. There was a small pause as Wonder Woman glanced at Zangetsu, trying to convey her plan to the kami. Zangetsu gave a tiny nod, which made Wonder Woman grip the key and begin to turn it. Hades narrowed his eyes when he saw Zangetsu break off and float a few feet in front of him. The fallen god watched as the kami grinned and became covered in a black fire. The fire was focused on his right arm while the kami's gray chiseled chest appeared. Hades spat out, "What are you attempting to do, kami?" Zangetsu grinned. "Prepare to face the final fury of my Getsuga Tenho technique, Nijetsu." The kami pointed his black flame-covered hand at Hades, sending a wall of black fire racing towards the fallen god. Hades was so shocked at Zangetsu's attack that the Nijetsu hit him head-on. The fallen god was carried by the black wave of power back into the gates of Tartarus. As soon as Hades passed through the gates, Wonder Woman finished turning the key locking the fallen god back in his prison. Wonder Woman turned to look at Zangetsu, but she found that the kami was gone. All members of the Justice League were shocked as their mysterious rescuer vanished as soon as the gates were sealed. Queen Hippolyta stiffened when she heard Zangetsu's voice whisper into her ear. "Do not worry about your younger daughter. She is under my protection." At the same time in Konoha, Donna and Naruto were in their pajamas lying on their futon reading. Donna was reading the tale of Genji, trying to understand why it was so popular, while Naruto read the Gutsy Ninja. Both Uzumakis were in good moods since Naruto's team had passed Kakashi's test. Getting those bells from Kakashi had been a pain and a half for Team 7. Shiho hadn't been particularly useful in the retrieval. It wasn't for lack of trying, Shiho's skills just were not suited for head-on fighting. Luckily, Naruto and Sai were able to take the bells from Kakashi thanks to them being stronger than he expected. Naruto knew it was a close call getting those bells and that they would never have had a chance if the Jonin had seriously fought them. Naruto looked up from his book when he heard Donna nearly slam her book on the ground next to her and huffed in frustration. He put a bookmark in and gently put the Gutsy Ninja on the side. "What's wrong, Tenio?" Donna turned to look at her husband and huffed, "I can't stand that book. The lead character moved from woman to woman like some sort of man whore, and he's supposed to be the hero. And don't get me started on the women. Most of those bimbos don't deserve to be called women." She then continued ranting about why the book was complete trash and causing Naruto to wince. He didn't like the book either, but it wasn't as bad as she was making it sound. Why didn't he think of suggesting she read something else that was more aligned with her tastes? Once Donna had stopped ranting, Naruto took a deep breath and gently spoke up. "It's a book meant to entertain nobles' wives who have nothing better to do all day than sit around and gossip. I doubt that anything meant for them would make you happy. You are in a much higher class than them after all, Donna." Naruto then sent up a quick prayer to Allah and Benton, hoping that he soothed Donna's temper. The kami were looking out for Naruto because a faint blush appeared on Donna's cheeks. "You honestly mean that, Naruto?" Even after 2 months of Naruto complimenting her, Donna still wasn't completely used to them. She also enjoyed them as a guilty pleasure and didn't mind trying to coax her husband into giving her another one. Naruto nodded his head. "Of course I do, Donna. I wouldn't tell you anything about you that I didn't think was true. I love and respect you too much to lie to you." Privately, Naruto hoped that he hadn't laid it on too thick so as to sound like he was buttering her up. He did love and respect her, and never wanted to lie to her. The problem for Naruto was that he wasn't sure if he was properly expressing himself. Talking to a girl you love was incredibly hard. Especially since Naruto didn't want to sound like a cheesy romantic character and get pounded by Donna. The blush on Donna's cheeks grew just a touch larger, and she gave him a small smile. "Thank you for your honesty, husband." Naruto's honesty was yet another aspect of him that she had fallen in love with. He never lied to her. If he didn't want her to know about something like his Olympian present, he simply told her he'd explain later. Thinking about what she loved about Naruto brought her back to the realization she had made this morning. She was in love with Naruto. Maybe not the true love that some poets describe in fantasy, or the time-tested love of an old couple, but she was in love just the same. With this realization, new emotions and questions bubbled up within her. The firm boundaries that she had set for herself, and that she hadn't even questioned 2 days ago, were suspect. Matsuri Yamanaka's advice was the only thing that she had to go on, and even then Donna wasn't finding much help. Was she uncomfortable with possibly doing certain things with Naruto because she wasn't ready, or was she just nervous? What if she was comfortable with one thing and not another but got so caught up that she did something she'd regret later? Donna really wished she could beat up Aphrodite or get the goddess to cough up a set of directions to love. This realization couldn't have come at more troubling time for Donna. With Naruto on a genin team, there was no telling when he might be pulled for a long-term mission. Most of the genin missions were just in Konoha. However, there were several long-term missions that even rookie teams could be put on. In addition, Naruto and she had decided yesterday that they'd move into the Uzumaki estate by the end of the week. The Sarutobis had insisted that they could stay longer, but the young couple didn't want to impose. What was she supposed to do now that she would soon be living alone with Naruto, and he could be pulled for duty out of the village? Part of Donna was frightened at the thought of Naruto not being by her side. He had become her anchor in the village. A tiny portion of her was secretly thrilled at the prospect of being in the Uzumaki house, their house. For the first time she'd be able to do anything she wanted within reason. She and Naruto wouldn't have to worry about Konohamaru or any of the younger Sarutobis walking in on them. It was an intoxicating thought. Acting on instinct, Donna leaned over and kissed Naruto. Her husband was momentarily surprised by the kiss and its intensity, but he quickly returned it in equal measure. The young couple continued to kiss for several minutes until Naruto's hand accidentally brushed against one of Donna's breasts. This caused Donna to immediately stiffen in shock and pull back, causing Naruto to wince. Glancing at the offending hand, Naruto bowed his head in shame. I'm sorry, Donna. I honestly didn't mean to touch you like that. I'll go use the spa futon tonight if it will make you comfortable. Knowing that Naruto would soon leave to get the spa futon, Donna realized that she stood at a crossroads in her relationship. If she let Naruto get out of bed, their relationship would be forced back slightly. If she kept him in the bed, she'd be opening their relationship up to a new dimension. A level that promised just as many pains as it did rewards. What should she do? A tenet of Zangetsu's teaching popped to the forefront of her mind, and she made her decision. Stay. Naruto turned to look at her with hope, trepidation, and questions in his eyes. He didn't leave the futon as Donna asked him to do. In all honesty, he really didn't want to leave. The idea of sleeping alone on missions was daunting enough that he didn't want to deal with that torture at home. However, Naruto didn't lie down as he still felt nervous and guilty about going too far. Seeing her husband's reaction, Donna decided to take things a step further. Donna reached down to the belt of her sleeping robe and loosened it. She then ran her hand up her chest and grabbed the edge of her robe. Quickly offering a prey to Hera for strength, Donna took a deep breath and pulled the robe back to reveal her bra-clad right breast. Go ahead, Naruto. You have my permission to touch my breast for now. With a suddenly dry throat, Naruto's hand tepidly closed in on the offered flesh. Naruto ever so gently touched the cloth-covered side of the breast, worried about hurting Donna. Not seeing her wincing in pain, Naruto slowly began to explore with his hand. For the next 10 minutes or so, the young couple explored this new aspect of their relationship. After a little bit, Donna gave Naruto access to the other breast, but she kept both breasts covered by her bra. The exploration ended when Donna began to feel her control slipping from the pleasure, and gently put her hand on Naruto's wrist. The princess smiled when Naruto looked at her. That was wonderful, Naruto, but we need to stop now or we'll do something that I'm not ready for yet. Her husband faintly blushed as Donna put on the top of her robe. They then turned off the light, lay down on the futon, and wrapped their arms around each other. Team 7 walked towards the Sarutobi compound ready to start their latest D-rank mission. Shiho was shaking her head as she glanced at Naruto. I can't believe that we were given this mission. Isn't this considered a conflict of interest, Kakashi? Kakashi didn't bother looking up from his book and replied, technically this isn't a conflict of interest, Shiho. First of all, Naruto wasn't the one to file for this mission. The law only states that one cannot be assigned to a mission they officially file for from the Hokage's office. Second, the fee for the mission is greater than the pay that Naruto is getting, so this isn't for personal enrichment. Finally, D-rank missions are usually handed out randomly, so it was pure luck that we were assigned this mission. Does that make sense? Shiho nodded her head. It does, sir. However, it still seems strange that we and defiantly Naruto have a mission to help him move into his house. Sai chuckled and then spoke in his well-practiced aggravating tone. It's probably because Mrs. Uzumaki couldn't count on her dickless husband to do the job on his day off. Won't she be upset when she finds out who's going to be handling the move? Naruto heard Sai's comments, and his hands quickly crunched into fists. Why was it that Sai had to make a verbal attack on his masculinity every day? It was getting really creepy. Naruto would have sent a string of insults towards Sai. However, prior experience had proven that insulting the artistic ninja only encouraged him to send more remarks. Team 7 soon arrived at the Sarutobi compound and found Donna waiting at the door. Donna's eyes widened in surprise for a second on seeing Team 7. She quickly regained her composure and said, "It's good that you're here. I've already marked the items that need to be moved with a piece of thread." She then passed out lists to everyone on the team and continued, "Those lists tell what each thread's color means. I want all the items packed in their appropriate sections and the boxes marked according to list. Now I trust that you all can handle this task without my supervision, so I will be in the living room doing some reading while you pack. Naruto, please take your teammates to our rooms so that you all can start packing." The three genin promptly took the list from Donna, and Naruto led them to the bedroom to pack the Uzumaki's belongings. Once the trio got to Naruto and Donna's old room, Naruto spoke up. "Leave the statue of Hera, that statue right there in the corner, alone. It represents the patron kami of Donna's people, so I'll make sure it's properly handled." Shiho nodded her head and said, "Sure thing, Naruto. By the way, where did you get this statue? I mean, Donna's people are supposed to living in somewhere in uncharted territory." Sai rolled calmly replied, "The statue is cast in a style native to the Land of Fire. It's rather obvious that it was made here in Konoha or in a nearby village. Dickless here probably bought it to try and appease his wife because she had nothing to work with." Naruto ground his teeth as he desperately tried to hold back an insult. As patient as Naruto was, even he had his limits, and the blonde shinobi spat out, "So says the guy who couldn't get a girl to look at him even if he had all the money in the world and ruled over a dozen lands." Almost instantly, Naruto regretted his outburst as Sai shot back, so you've finally proven that you have some balls. I was beginning to think that they were shriveled up raisins to go along with your dickless state. Before Sai could say anything more, Shiho put 2 fingers to her lips and let out a shrill whistle. Both Sai and Naruto winced and covered their ears. Shiho held the whistle for a few seconds, ended it, and then put her hands on her hips. The mousy girl had quickly learned that she needed to be firm if she wanted to get her teammates to stop bickering when Sai got them going. It was tough for Shiho, but her recent acquaintance with Donna helped her out. Alright guys, it's time for you to stop your ridiculous name calling. If you ever want us to do something more than a D-rank mission, you're going to have to act professional. Down the hall, Kakashi held back a snicker as he heard Shiho berate her teammates. Donna was levitating to one side and had been reading a book until she heard the whistle. She grinned at her new friend's control methods. Her eyes then glanced over to Kakashi and she had to fight the urge to punch the Jonin in the face. Really, could that lout call himself a man when he walked around reading porn in public all day? It was bad enough that Grandfather Hiruzen read that trash, but at least he did it in private. Knowing that it would just cause more trouble than it was worth, Donna forced herself to let the book slide. The princess then returned her eyes to her book on chakra usage and grudgingly returned to reading it. Donna had been surprised when she and Naruto had discovered that she had an abnormally high amount of chakra. She didn't know if the high chakra level was a byproduct of all her Amazonian training or if it was the method that the gods had used to give her their blessings. Naruto didn't care which way it was. All that was important to him on that subject was that she could use jutsus if she wanted. As a former foreign resident and as a non-shinobi, she was forbidden to learn anything above D rank. However, she could apply to enter the ninja force in a few months if her good behavior continued. Donna didn't know if she wanted to work for Konoha or not, but figured that it couldn't hurt for her to learn. Later that evening, the Uzumakis were settling into their house for the evening. Naruto was at his desk in the office grudgingly looking over the Uzumaki clan trust activities. Personally, Naruto would rather gnaw his arm off, but that wasn't much of an option for him at the moment. The resulting blood would ruin the furniture, and it would be incredibly hard to be a genin with just one hand. Not to mention it would annoy Donna, and doing paperwork was better than dealing with her when she was annoyed any day. Speaking of his wife, Donna was currently in the kitchen trying to make dinner. Trying being the operative word as Donna flew back and forth between dishes trying to keep everything from turning into a mess. How could cooking for 2 people turn into such a near disaster? This hadn't happened when she'd been drafted to help the women cook at the Saratobi compound. Steaming up some rice and frying some pork with vegetables shouldn't be this difficult. After 10 minutes of near panic, Donna finished making dinner and eagerly turned off the stove. She wiped some sweat off of her face and muttered, "That's it, I'm not making any more Land of Fire dishes. Naruto will just have to learn to like Amazonian dishes or he can make dinner himself because I'm sticking to dishes I know." It only took Donna a minute to set the table. Once everything was ready, she called down the hall, "Dinner's ready, Naruto. Get over here to eat it while it's still warm." Seconds later, Donna heard Naruto leave the office and start running to the kitchen. He was running so fast that she thought of a second that he was copying her flying ability. Naruto stopped a foot away from the table and gave Donna a foxy grin. She smiled in return for the grin and said, "Why don't you carry the rice to the table while I take the fried food?" Naruto nodded his head, gave Donna a quick peck on the cheek, and picked up the rice cooker. He then carried it to the table that Donna had already set and placed it in the center of the table. Donna put the bowl of fried vegetables and pork next to the rice cooker. As she sat down, Naruto put a serving on his wife's plate and then put one on his. He then sat down and the duo said a quick grace before eating. The young couple ate in silence, occasionally looking across the table at each other and blushing. They had eaten together dozens of times either at the Saratobis or at a restaurant, but both felt nervous now. There was just something more intimate about having dinner alone in their house for the first time. Both were nervous about possible expectations the other might have. Naruto and Donna both tried to talk about what they expected in their relationship, but there were always unvoiced concerns and potential misunderstandings due to their different backgrounds. It didn't help that some problems they both really didn't want to talk about. Sex was one blaring example of a culture clash that the Uzumakis were dealing with in their lives. For the Amazons, it was something special and private that only happened when 2 Amazons were extremely serious about each other and had been together for a long time. In a relationship for a long time to an Amazon was on the order of decades, if not a century or 2. That was something Donna knew from her etiquette lessons and just paying attention to her sisters. Not that it was viewed negatively, you just didn't talk about sex back on Themyscira since it was private. There was no need for girl talk since everyone, minus the princesses who just had book knowledge, already knew just what you could do in every variation of sex. As for sex with a man, that concept was made almost heretical due to Hercules' rape and the hiding of Island. On the other hand, Konoha was much more accepting of sex, if that could be the proper description, especially when it came to the shinobi who lived by the philosophy of why wait for tomorrow when you could die tonight. That's not to say that Konoha was a place of debauchery, as the idea of free love was heavily frowned upon and adultery on anyone's part was a serious offense. However, the people didn't see anything wrong with a couple quickly moving from the boyfriend/girlfriend stage to being lovers. Why should the couple wait if they were in love, legal adults, and one of them could be killed at any time? Also, the gossip in Konoha was much more willing to talk about who was with whom and how far they had gotten. It was kind of hard not to talk about given that a sizable minority of ninjas could detect these things due to their noses or chakra senses. Naruto wasn't alone in being ribbed by his peers over the fact that the two of them hadn't consummated their relationship. While none of the acquaintances Donna had gained over the past few months brought it up in front of her, there was talk behind her back by other girls. Thankfully, the girls in question weren't her associates. But still, those girls were voicing concerns that Donna was odd since was still a virgin. After all, the busybodies would say, why would a normal girl not use such a decent, and likely long-lasting package she had an exclusive right to use? Her husband had been avoided by the ladies because of the burden of his clan, and not any perceived deficiencies as a potential lover. Donna wasn't used to being talked about negatively. Back with her people, she had always been treated with love and respect. The only time she was talked down was when she did something wrong, and then it was only to discipline her. Having people whisper near libel about her was painful and frustrating. How did Naruto put up with all of his friends belittling him? Of course, Donna dryly thought as she chewed on some pork, there was a way to end all of the gossip. All she had to do was consummate her marriage, and then the gossips would have to find a new thing to talk about after passing around that the Uzumakis had done the deed. In all honesty, Donna could privately admit that she wanted to bed Naruto. He was kind, friendly, respectful, handsome, and he was hers. But Donna was nervous at the idea of being so intimate and vulnerable even if she knew in her head that Naruto would never purposely hurt her. She still didn't feel completely comfortable with the idea of being around Naruto while just in her underwear. Besides, Donna wanted to wait until she and Naruto felt completely comfortable with being that intimate, and not because of social pressure. The pressure would likely never go away, so how would she know for sure? Finally, Donna decided to take some action in resolving this tension and said, Naruto, can we talk about all of the gossip that's surrounding us? Naruto looked up from the remains of his dinner and nervously said, if you honestly want to talk about that. It wasn't hard for him to figure out what this conversation was going to be about, and he was not looking forward to it. All of the talk about them in town was tough to deal with, but he thought that just putting up with everything was the best solution. A bit of pink came to Donna's cheeks as she spoke. I think this is something we need to talk about whether we want to do so or not. And since we both are uncomfortable about talking about this, I think the only option to get us honestly talking about it is to quit beating around the bush. The fact that we haven't consummated our marriage is creating a lot of social tension for us. Furthermore, we can't immediately rectify this situation because my cultural upbringing makes me too uncomfortable with taking the necessary steps. I've been thinking about this for a bit, and I have come to two solutions. Our first option is for us to agree to have sex with the understanding that you are to do whatever's necessary to consummate our union when I get cold feet at the actual time of the act. Our second option is to get me used to being that intimate with you that I won't bolt when it comes time for the act. What's your opinion on these options? Silently, Donna thanked Hera she had the strength to actually say that to Naruto. Naruto's face was red as a tomato from rage and embarrassment as he spoke. The first option is out. It is consensual rape if such an abomination exists, and I won't tolerate it. I say we go with the second option no matter how long it takes. What people say about me behind our backs is unimportant next to your happy. Donna cut Naruto off in mid-word by flying out of her seat, shooting across the table, and kissing him on the lips. Team 7 was assembled in the Hokage's tower the next day waiting for an assignment. Kakashi looked down at his team with amused pride. The trio still had a lot to learn, but they were coming along splendidly for new genin. His students were standing in front of him as they waited in the queue to receive their mission. Soon enough, Team 7 was before the Chunin working the desk. As the Chunin looked up, Kakashi spoke. As the leader of Team 7, I request a C-rank mission. All members of the team quickly glanced at each other, and then looked up at the Chunin with big, hopeful eyes. They had been genins for nearly 3 months now. They were all sick of doing D-rank missions. Even Sai, who normally seemed emotionless when he wasn't insulting Naruto, had been bitterly complaining about the missions. Naturally, all three were praying that a C-rank mission was available. The Chunin behind the desk easily ignored the looks in the genin's eyes. He saw them all the time on the newbies' faces. With barely a grunt, he pulled out a list of C-rank missions fit for genins and looked for a teething mission. We've got a courier request. It seems that someone wants a few family manuscripts transported to a cousin living in a village on the other end of the Land of Fire. It's unlikely that you'll have any trouble on this one. Chance of hostilities is negligible except for a chance encounter with bandits. If such a situation occurs, you are under standard orders to exterminate if possible. The mission has an expected duration of 2.5 weeks. Do you accept? Kakashi shrugged and said, sure, it sounds like a mission these three can handle. He glanced down to see all three of his students looking like they were ready to jump for joy. The fact that delivery missions in the village were D rank, or that the only things that made this a C rank were the time and distance involved, didn't matter to the trio. All that really mattered at the moment was that they were finally going on a C rank mission. Politely ignoring the genin's enthusiasm, the Chunin made a note of Team 7 receiving the mission and then handed Kakashi the mission scroll. Kakashi quickly read it to find out all of the details. He then closed it and said, gather your long-term mission gear and report to Gate 4 in 3 hours. I expect you all there promptly. The trio nodded their heads and quickly left the tower. Kakashi left his students to collect the package they were delivering from the tower's vault and seal it into a storage scroll. With the package sealed, Kakashi left the tower and headed off to the memorial stone. He looked down at the stone and instantly found Kushina and Minato's names on the stone. Looking at the names reminded Kakashi of all the good times he had with the couple and all of the advice they had given him. After a minute he sighed and began to speak. I'm taking Naruto and his team on their first mission outside the village in a few hours. Your son was so happy at the news that I think the only way to make him happier right now is if Donna flew him into the sky and kissed him. That thought brought a chuckle to Kakashi. Naruto wore his heart on his sleeve and was so wrapped around Donna's finger it almost wasn't funny. According to Asuma, Konohamaru was planning on giving Naruto a property of Donna Uzumaki dog tag for his next birthday if he got enough money to get the tag made. Kakashi was thinking of getting Asuma to pass on a few ryo as a donation to the effort, and the expected laughs when the Uzumakis saw the gift. Returning to the stone, Kakashi continued, don't worry about Naruto. He's growing up as a fine ninja. He might not be an unexpected genius like Minato, but Naruto definitely has a good head on his shoulders and is willing to work hard. I'm sure that he'll be a great ninja someday once he gets enough experience and training. Queen Hippolyta stood in the temple to Hera in front of the altar trying to keep calm as the ox burned as a sacrifice. Her disheveled hair and shaking limbs destroyed any illusion of a collected, near-immortal queen. Every day for the past 10 days since she had banished Diana, Hippolyta had been here praying for some guidance. What atrocity had she committed that caused the gods to take her children away from her? First Faust sends Donna away to some realm that no one knows how to get to, and then Diana has to be banished for breaking the law. The only mercy she had been able to include in the sentencing of her rebellious daughter was the clause that she could return to the island if she found and returned her sister. Desperately, Hippolyta looked up at the imposing statue of Hera and started to beg. Please, O Queen of the Gods and Patron of the Amazons, what have I done to deserve this? What must I do to have my daughters returned to me? Tears freely fell from Hippolyta's eyes as she prayed for answers. Without her daughters, all Hippolyta had were her sorrows and her prayers. Suddenly a powerful matronly voice said, Be at peace, Queen of the Amazons. Hippolyta whipped around to Hera standing at the door to the goddess's temple. The Queen of the Gods walked closer to the distressed mother and said, Both your daughters will be returned to you in time of this, the fates have assured me. However, things will not be as they were for Donna and Diana before they left Themyscira. Experience has changed and will change the princesses, and you could lose them again if you cannot accept the changes. Hippolyta nodded her head in surprise and shock. On the one hand, she was grateful that Hera was answering her prayers and astonished that the goddess was doing it in person. On the other hand, she was worried about what Hera's warning could mean. Why wouldn't she accept her daughter? The mother in her snarled at the implication. Banishing Diana was the hardest decision she ever made that had happened only because her hands had been forced by the law. They're my daughters. I may at times be disappointed with the choices they've made, but I will never abandon them. A smirk appeared on Hera's face and she replied, That is the correct sentiment for you to have, Hippolyta. Let's just see if you can hold yourself to it. With divine speed, Hera reached out and grabbed Hippolyta's wrist. There was a brilliant flash of light when divine flesh touched mortal flesh. Once the flash ended, the two queens were floating above Konoha and their bodies were transparent like ghosts. Hera let go of Hippolyta's hand and spoke. This is the land where Princess Donna was sent to by Faust's magic. I have transported your mind here so that you may see for yourself how the princess is doing. This is for the princess's benefit as well as she is in need of her mother's advice. Until I take you to Donna, you will not be able to interact with anything in this realm. Such is the bargain I have made with Amitisaru. Know that from your daughter's perspective she has been here many months, so you must listen carefully and learn. The queens floated down and entered one of the houses where several of the senior ladies of Konoha were meeting. The meeting was more of an informal get-together that Kohara liked to hold with some of her old friends and associates. Matsuri just started to speak as the queens appeared. Really, Nodoka, why must you insist that there is something wrong with young Donna? She's proven herself to be a wonderful young woman ever since she arrived. Nodoka snorted and replied, There's something seriously wrong with a woman remaining a virgin after half a year of marriage. Arranged couples who detest each other will at least try having sex after a month or two. Hormones and alcohol can easily cool negative passions. Trust me, if it wasn't for sake, I wouldn't have been able to have my kids. Koharu brought over some tea and added her opinion to the mix. Don't be too hard on the girl, Nodoka. It's quite obvious that her people have programmed her to reject men, especially when it comes to those matters. I have told you that Donna was practically frothing at the mouth in rage when I told her that I had convinced the Hokage to have her married off to Naruto. You would think that a princess would have a little more dignity than that. Still, I must admit that Naruto has done a wonderful job deprogramming Donna, even if it was unintended, as he tried to get her to like him. Matsuri quickly spoke up in support of Donna. The poor girl is completely out of her league, so back off, Nodoka. Donna was trained as a princess and as a fighter, but she had no training on being a young matriarch, or even a wife until she arrived here. That's not even considering all the changes she has to learn about because her people live in a totally different way from us. You haven't been the one she comes to at least once a week for advice or a sympathetic ear to listen to her problems. That sweet young woman had no idea how a relationship was supposed to work outside of some half-skewed notions pulled from books and overheard conversations. Also, you have to consider the girl's fears of betraying her people's beliefs. I say that the Uzumakis have been doing just fine on their own. Hera grabbed Hippolyta and the two queens quickly rose into the sky. The Divine Queen then started to explain things to Hippolyta. Donna was transported into the middle of a secured military installation when she arrived in Konoha. Once she was captured, the leaders of this village were stuck with trying to find a suitable punishment for her trespassing while not creating a worse diplomatic incident. In the end, it was decided to have Donna marry the last surviving member of a respected and wealthy family so as to provide protection for her and serve as her punishment. From what I hear, your new son-in-law is head over heels in love with Donna and does his best to cater to her every whim. I'm actually considering sending my lout over here to get some lessons on being a proper husband. Hippolyta dumbly nodded her head, trying to wrap her brain around what she had found out. Donna was married? Part of her wanted to grab her little pearl and carry her back to the palace so that she could be safe. Another part of Hippolyta wanted to summon an army of Amazons to raze Konoha to the ground for daring to give her daughter to a man like she was some sort of prize. The insults that were apparently being hurled at Donna only fueled her rage. Ironically enough, to Hera's amusement, the news that Naruto was treating Donna with respect and that he hadn't slept with her yet was calming Hippolyta's temper. Because of her past experience with lovers, Hippolyta was stunned that a man would have such patience. She wasn't sure how to handle the idea of someone who was both in lust with her daughter and who was holding back his desires to what was his right by these barbaric people's standards. Finally, the warring sides of Hippolyta's mind reached an agreement, and she hesitantly said, "Great Hera, may I be allowed to see the man that my daughter has been bound to before I talk with her?" There was a flash of light, and the two transparent queens were sent miles away. Hippolyta looked down and saw Team 7 in the middle of fighting a gang of bandits. Team 7 had accidentally run across the gang's camp, and Kakashi figured that it would be a good opportunity for his team to get some blood on their hands. Hera whispered in her worshipper's ears, "Naruto is the blonde one." Hippolyta watched as Naruto wielded a Kaiketsushogue and quickly cut the head off of one of the bandits. He then created a Kaige Bunshin to help guard Shiho's back. Shiho's skills would be great if she was in one-on-one combat, but were a tad weak for the free-for-all the team was currently in. Naruto glanced over to Sai, who was rather calmly fighting off a bandit. The two genin glanced at each other. Naruto gave a pushing motion, and Sai nodded his head slightly. Naruto quickly secured his Kaiketsushogue and used a lightly powered Futon, de Tapa. Just as the duo planned, the bandit was caught off guard by the sudden gust of wind and pushed into Sai's waiting blade. The Kaige Bunshin then blocked an attack aimed at Shiho and gave the girl the opening needed to kill her would-be killer. The battle ended seconds later when Kakashi threw two shuriken to kill the last two bandits. He quickly looked at his students and said, "Are you all alright?" Sai and Naruto nodded their head, looking like they were torn between being shocked and sick. Shiho quickly made up her mind as she nodded her head, and then started throwing up. Naruto saw Shiho vomiting and quickly rushed to her side to make sure she hadn't been hit. Kakashi sighed and said, "I want all of you to leave this field as soon as Shiho feels up to moving. I'll handle the disposal of these bandits this time, since it will be tough enough for you to deal with your first kills." Sai tried to keep his composure, but even with all the training his father gave him, the young genin quickly bolted away from the battlefield. However, Naruto stayed by Shiho and wrapped her arm over his shoulder when she lost her footing. He then carried her off the battlefield while constantly fighting his emotions to prevent a breakdown. Above Team 7, Hippolyta was slowly nodding her head as she looked down at Naruto. Despite her wishes, Hippolyta was finding herself respecting the boy. From what she could see, he was growing to be a strong warrior, he cared for his teammates, and he apparently both loved and respected Donna. The fates had been kind to Donna by giving her a decent man to be bound to by these barbaric people. Hippolyta continued to look down on her son-in-law as his team gathered themselves after their skirmish with the bandits. Having observed enough for now, the queen turned Hera and asked, "Can I speak to Donna now?" Hera smiled and nodded her head. The goddess then snapped her fingers, bringing the two queens appeared in the Uzumaki house. They appeared in the study room just as Donna was walking in the room. Donna froze in shock at the sight of her mother. She stared at the queens for a few seconds and quickly brought her hands together in a ram seal and yelled out, "Release!" Donna and Hippolyta blinked their eyes in confusion, while Hera looked on the scene with mirth in her eyes. Donna performed the seal again and started to shake when her mother didn't vanish. "How am I still under a genjutsu?" Donna started muttering to herself. Deciding that the drama had gone on long enough, Hera spoke. "This is no illusion, Princess Donna of Themyscira. I heard your prayers for advice and brought your mother's spirit here to guide you." Hippolyta took a step closer to Donna and whispered, "It's really me, my little pearl." Hippolyta took another step and gently wrapped her arms around Donna. Feeling her mother's soft and loving arms around her caused Donna to break down and start crying. Hippolyta pulled Donna closer to her and started running her fingers through her daughter's hair in a soothing manner. "Go ahead, Donna, let it all out. I'm here now and everything's going to be alright." For the next minute, Donna just cried in Hippolyta's shoulder, unburdening herself of all the fears and uncertainties that had built up over the months she had been in Konoha. Once Donna regained some self-control, she pulled back and sheepishly said, "Sorry about that, mother. It's just that a lot has happened since I came here." With a slightly mischievous smile, Hippolyta replied, "I can imagine that quite a lot has happened, Donna. Like a certain blonde-haired shinobi, for instance?" Donna blinked her eyes and then stuttered, "What the? How did you? How could know about Naruto?" "I was brought her to help you, my dear daughter. I can't do that very well if I'm not aware of the circumstances that you're in. As our people's queen and especially as your mother, I'm rather incensed at what these barbarians have done to you. Still, I am happy that the husband they forced on you is at least a decent man." Donna softly smiled and whispered, "Naruto's more than decent." Hippolyta momentarily frowned when she saw Donna's body posture and heard the affection for Naruto in her voice. While the queen could intellectually accept that Naruto was a decent man, it was another matter for her to be able to emotionally accept Naruto and Donna in a relationship. Not knowing how long Hera would let her stay here, Hippolyta quickly focused on getting to work helping Donna. She schooled her features to a friendly and slightly detached manner before speaking. "What do you need advice on, Donna? Don't beat around the bush with me on this, as I don't know how long we've been given." The young Amazonian's face turned bright red as she thought about what was bothering her. How was she supposed to talk to her mother about that? Still, Donna could admit that her mother was right. At least she could take solace in the possibility of not seeing her mother again for mothers. Donna steeled her courage and forced out a quiet question. Is it alright for an Amazon to want to have sex with a man?" Donna immediately ducked her eyes, unable to look at her mother from embarrassment. As happy as Hippolyta was to see Donna again, she mentally wished to be anywhere else rather than fielding that question. Now wasn't the time to wallow in her own discomfort when her daughter's welfare was resting on her answer. "As you know, Amazonians did used to have husbands before Hercules came to our old lands. Such things obviously don't occur on Themyscira, as it's just us Amazons on the island. However, that doesn't prohibit an Amazon form having a husband like you do. Since you do have a husband, there is nothing wrong with you wanting to experience all the aspects of marriage. Doing so doesn't change what and more importantly who you are, Donna. But as your mother, I must urge you to use caution in pursuing a more intimate relationship, Donna. The closeness of a loving relationship opens you to a pleasure beyond your imagining, but it also leaves you vulnerable to agonizing pain. Both you and Naruto are young and inexperienced in many aspects of having a relationship. There is a good possibility that either of you could hurt the other accidentally if you move too fast. I know that you and Naruto are experiencing outside pressure to move faster in your relationship, but I want you to remember to move at your own pace. Finally, I want you to remember that I will always love and support you even if I'm not physically present to help you." A small tear rolled down Donna's cheek and she whispered, "Thank you, Mother." Knowing that her mother knew what was happening to her and still loved her, that had happened lifted a great weight off of Donna's chest. While Donna had been sure that her mother would still love her, the radical changes to her life since coming to Konoha had created nagging worries in the back of her mind. Now that she didn't have to worry about that weight, Donna wanted to get rid of the other situation bugging her. "Mom, how are our people doing? Were we able to drive off Faust?" Hippolyta nodded her head and said yes, Faust was defeated. Diana was able to bring allies to help her defeat Faust. However, due to her position and the nature of her allies, I had to exile her. It's not something I'm proud of, but the law is the law. I was able to lighten her sentence a bit in that if Diana can find you and get you back home, she'll be able to return home. Whether or not you stay home after that is up to you. Hera then spoke up and said, as much as I wish you two could have more time, we're approaching the limit that Hippolyta and I can stay here. The goddess took a step closer to Donna and said, the fates have told me that you will return to Themyscira one day. However, your destiny is now split between our world and this world. If Naruto chooses to follow you back to Earth, his destiny will be split as well. With that, Hera grabbed Hippolyta and the two queens disappeared. For a second after their disappearance, Donna considered the possibility that she had imagined everything. However, that line of thinking died a fiery death when Donna saw the gift Hera had left her as proof of the queen's visit. Resting on the floor was a brand new Amazon-style sword made from celestial bronze. Donna reverently knelt down and picked up the blade. She then gave it a few test swings and found it to be perfect in her hands. 10 days later, Team 7 returned to Konoha with grins on their faces. Except for the attack on that one group of bandits, their mission had been smooth sailing. Once Team 7 finished their debriefing, Naruto bolted from the Hokage's tower and ran straight home. As soon as Naruto got through the front door, he yelled out, "I'm home, Donna." He heard a slightly muffled reply, "I'm in the backyard." Naruto immediately walked through the house to the backyard. When Naruto opened the back door, he let out a small gasp of surprise. Donna was standing in the middle of the training field wearing tight-hugging jeans, a cream-colored sweat-soaked blouse that was stuck to her body, and a sheath on her back. There was a thin layer of dust caked onto Donna's skin, and her hair was a wild, tangled, and matted mess. Hera's sword was in Donna's hands, and there was a nearby puddle hinting at the remains of a water clone. All in all, she looked even more beautiful to Naruto at that moment than she had in the torturously pleasurable dreams he'd been having every night on his mission. Donna turned to look Naruto in the face and gave him a brilliant smile. She sheathed her sword and then ran towards Naruto. The princess grabbed her husband in a massive hug and firmly kissed him on the lips. Naturally, Naruto's eyes widened in shock at the forcefulness and passion, but he quickly responded to the kiss. After a few seconds, Donna pulled away and said, "Welcome home, Naruto." "Wow," Naruto said with a slight daze, and he blinked his eyes. "If I get a greeting like that every time I return from a mission Tenio, I'm going to feel far more at ease with long-term missions." Donna gave him a playful smack in reply. Naruto chuckled and said, "I guess I deserved that, didn't I? By the way, Donna, what happened while I was gone? I mean, you seem to be more comfortable with yourself, if that makes any sense." Donna smiled and replied, "While you were away, I received a brief visit from my mother thanks to the patron goddess of the Amazons. We were only able to talk for a few minutes, but she was able to put a lot of fears and uncertainties I had to rest. When they disappeared, this sword was left behind to prove that I didn't imagine anything." Naruto was surprised to hear that Donna's mother had briefly been in the village thanks to one of her people's kami. Any private doubts he might have had, not that he'd ever voiced them, were quickly brushed away by the sword on Donna's back. It was made out of an alloy and in a style that was completely foreign to the elemental nations. Lack of proof otherwise, Naruto was going to take Donna's word on this matter. Naruto considered what Donna told him, and then an uncertainty of his emerged. "What was your mother's opinion of me?" "My mother said that she wasn't happy that I had been married off, but she was happy that I am married to you out of the possible choices in Konoha. She said you were a decent man, which is extremely high praise for her." That news led to Naruto letting out a sigh of relief. He then jokingly said, "That's good to know. I was almost afraid that your mother would lead an army into Konoha for the sole purpose of castrating me." Donna muttered under her breath, "She'd have to fight me first." The princess quickly covered up her slip by saying, "Hey Naruto, would you like to have a spar?" Naruto grinned and replied, "Sounds great, Donna. What are the rules and stakes if you want them?" Having the loser do a chore that needed to be done or run an errand was a great motivator to win a spar. Besides, most of the time it was things that neither of them wanted to do, but the chore had to get done. Their brief look of hesitation and nervousness on Donna's face before she firmly said, "All right, Naruto, no weapons and not jutsu for our match, and it's until the first one of us surrenders or is held to the ground for 5 seconds. Stakes are as follows. I win and you have to clean out the koi pond. If you win, I have to let you watch me take a bath." As can be expected, Naruto's mind needed to be reset after hearing what Donna was laying on the line. Part of Naruto was eager to take Donna up on the offer, the chance to see her bathe. Even though he was a good man, Naruto was still a teenager with an extremely hot wife. The other part of Naruto was concerned because this didn't exactly seem like something Donna would do. "Why did you set those terms?" Donna could easily see the concern, love, and hint of eagerness in her husband's eye. A hint of a blush appeared on the princess's cheeks as she replied, "I love you, Naruto. It's hard for me to say the words, but it's true that I love you. It's easier for me to admit that now that I've talked to my mother and confirmed that what I feel for you doesn't betray who I am. However, my pride as an Amazon still makes me skittish about pursuing certain aspects of our relationship. I may be happy to be your wife now, Naruto, But I was still forced into it after being captured, and my pride won't accept that. Then how does betting sexual or near sexual favors help you deal with your pride, Donna? Because Naruto, Donna paused for a second so that she could walk closer to her husband. These favors are favors that I've chosen to lay on the line. Because they are my choice, my pride won't be hurt if something happens. In fact, I'm sure my pride would spur me on to completing my bets because I won't accept the idea of breaking my word. Donna paused again to lean closer to Naruto and pressed her body against his. She then whispered in his ear, "Please accept, husband. I want this to happen." Hiruzen looked at the 60 jonins in charge of the current genin teams and said, "As you know, it is time once again to submit candidates for the Chunin exams, which will be held next month. Once again, I would like to remind you all that just because we are hosting the Chunin exams, you are not permitted to nominate your team on a whim. After the debacle last time Konoha hosted the exams, I have decided that we will be holding these exams to foreign participation standards." Shocked mutterings erupted from the assembled jonin. Foreign participation standards limited the number of allowed teams to 10. If more than 10 teams wanted to compete, then they'd have to be cut down in a pre-exam tournament against a mix of chunins and jonins. Once the chunins and the jonins got through grinding up the genins, ad hoc teams would be created out of the survivors. Considering how hard it was for less experienced genins to work together as a team right away, this created a serious weakness for the teams in terms of trust. Thus, jonin were very careful to not trigger a pre-exam tournament. Enough! Hiruzen's firm command brought the debating jonin to a complete stop. The last time we hosted a tournament here without this rule, there an 80% failure rate among the chunin hopefuls. That is completely unacceptable. Since we've never had more than a 30% failure rate with these regulations, I have decided to continue using them while the exams are being held here. If you think your team is ready, you will write your team on a form and turn it in by tomorrow evening. That is all. With that said, the Hokage left the room so that the jonin could consider what he had told them. Hiruzen left the room, walked down the hall, and entered another room where the elders were waiting for him. Hamura chuckled and said, "I take it that the youngsters don't like the new rules you put in place." Hiruzen quickly replied, "They were too shocked when I left to say anything. However, I suspect that they'll all be chatting up a storm any second now." The Hokage's eyes hardened a bit, and he turned to look at Danzo as he continued, "Have you properly fixed the selection machine in case more than 10 teams are nominated?" Danzo nodded his head and replied, "I have the remote in my office. If we need it, I'll turn it over to you." The Hokage nodded at this answer. "That's good, such things shouldn't be left to chance if possible. Sure, it might not be honest or fair for him to rig the tournaments to knock out perceived weaklings. However, who said that life, being a ninja, or especially a shinobi's life, was fair? The purpose was to make sure that none of jonin were overestimating their students. If the genin could win even when the odds were stacked against them, and it did happen every once in a while, then they deserved their spot." With that matter settled, Hiruzen moved on to the next point of the mission. "Has there been any progress from the censor division into devising a way of detecting the Amazonian kami if they choose to make another appearance?" It was a sore point to Hiruzen and the other elders that anything had gotten by the village's censor net, as that represented a potential weak point in the village's defenses. Not that Hiruzen wanted to challenge the foreign kami. That would be stupidity of the first rank and the last mistake he'd likely ever make. One did not piss off the kami and live. Rather, Hiruzen wanted to know if the Amazonian kami ever appeared so that he could either offer homage or stay as far away from them as possible. Hamura sighed and replied, "None whatsoever. As you know, kami mute their aura when they choose to come to this plane. Good thing too, as the last time a kami released more than a touch of their aura created the crater of Crater City. However, unlike the kami we're familiar with, the aura frequency that the Amazonian kami possess is unknown to us. The censors don't have any holy relic fragments to have examined by the fire monks for a frequency. Our only lead is the sword left to Donna Uzumaki, but no one wants to risk offending her kami by taking something left for her use." The Hokage nodded his head and replied, "It took us over a century to develop a system to detect the kami, so don't be discouraged. Move cautiously, the last thing we want to do with earn the wrath of a kami. Even the weaker kami can wipe out cities." Shiho looked at her teammates as Kakashi dropped the news on them about the possibility of going in the Chunin exams. Sai's eyes almost sparkled with interest even if he kept his face calm. Naruto actually jumped off the ground and pumped his fist in the air. He then shouted out, "All right, this is what we've been waiting for." As for herself, Shiho was not nearly as eager as her teammates. She didn't say anything to dampen the mood, but Kakashi caught on to her nervousness very quickly. Team 7's Jonin instructor gave one of his traditional eye smiles and said, "If you want to enter the Chunin exams, report to the Hokage Tower by 9 a.m. 3 days from now. The team is going into standby mode until then so that you three can think about whether or not you want to enter the exam. Regardless of your choice, I expect you to use some of this time for training. Come and get me if you wish for some personal training. With that said, Kakashi vanished in a flurry of leaves. Sai got up and then looked at Naruto. Hey Dickless, how about we have a practice spar if you're even man enough for one? This comment earned Sai a kunai thrown into the ground 2 inches from his crotch. Danzo's slightly disturbed son picked up the kunai and replied, just because you don't have any balls does not mean you can castrate me. A small, easily deniable, smirk appeared on Sai's face as he saw his words getting to Naruto. Oh, that is it, Sai. I'm going to beat you black and blue. Naruto was seriously getting annoyed at Sai for his constant eunuch remarks. What he and Donna did or didn't do was nobody's business but their own. Quickly pulling out his Kaiketsushogue, Naruto started whipping the ball end of his weapon in a challenge to Sai. Naturally, Sai rolled onto the field and pulled out his ninjato in a defensive stance. The Kaiketsushogue flew where Sai had been seconds ago and then whipped around back into Naruto's hand. Shiho quickly decided that now would be a good time to leave the training field. The boys' weekly, if she could be so lucky, full contact spar was not something she wanted to get into the middle of. Seriously, if it wasn't for Sai baiting Naruto so much she'd think that they were doing it all just for the fun of it. Shiho wasn't about to try and join in their spar because she knew that they were in another league. As the young kunoichi left the training field, she thought about whether or not to enter the exams. It was a difficult choice for her since she was not the most skilled member of the team, or the most well-rounded. Kunoichi were generally weaker than shinobi. This wasn't a sexist belief or a situation due to preference in training. It was a simple biological fact. The average male was physically slightly stronger than the average female. Chakra only further skewed the averages since the chakra network for men was on average 20% larger than a woman's chakra network. This was why men had larger chakra reserves, but women typically had better control on average. Of course, the actual statistics were worse than biology suggested since many kunoichi wasted years in the academy and initial training by moaning over the hot guy while the guys typically trained to impress the girls. Now, Shiho was actually in the top 10% of her graduating class's kunoichi since she didn't skip on her training. At the same time, Team 7's female teammate had never pushed her basic training like Naruto and Sai had done. Codes and puzzles had fascinated Shiho for years and she was determined to become a cryptographer ninja. Being a cryptographer ninja was a respected support role and would allow her to exercise her love of codes and puzzles. It wasn't a particularly glorious position, but Shiho was not planning on becoming a great ninja like Naruto was set to become. There was only one little hitch to Shiho's plans to become a cryptographer ninja. You needed to be at least a chunin in order to apply. Konoha wasn't about to risk having people who had vital security information who might not be able to defend themselves. Shiho had been putting in extra training to get ready for the exams so she could pass. However, she wasn't sure that she had improved enough to pass or even survive if the rumors surrounding the exam were true. Naruto and Sai could no doubt handle the exam. Hell, Shiho wouldn't be too surprised if they actually passed them. As Team 7's kunoichi walked down the streets, she spotted Donna walking towards the armory section of town. Shiho quickly called out, "Hey Donna." Donna turned around, spotted Shiho, and smiled. The princess then called out, "Hello Shiho. It's great to see you, but aren't you supposed to be having team training right now?" Shiho's face became slightly worried and she replied, "Kakashi is letting us decide whether or not to enter the Chunin exams. As such, he's given us some time off for individual training and reflection." Naruto and Sai got into another one of their spar/fights while I'd been thinking about the offer. "What are you doing today, Donna?" For some reason that confused Shiho, Donna had a faint blush and nervously said, "Getting an offering made for Artemis." Donna, I thought you offered your kami offerings of food and incense like we all do here. What kind of offering are you having made?" This confused Shiho because from what she had observed Donna's worship was just like it was here in Konoha. Some people in other lands occasionally made different types of offerings. However, that was typically done by craftsmen who wanted to present a masterpiece to the kami. This new mystery immediately intrigued Shiho, and she wanted to get to the bottom of it. Donna got a little nervous when she saw the gleam in Shiho's eye that said, "I found something interesting." Figuring that her closest friend wouldn't stop investigating until she found out what was going on, Donna signaled for Shiho to follow her into a nearby alley. Once the two girls were in the alley by themselves, Donna began to explain what she was doing. "I'm getting a bow made to offer Artemis as a replacement for the normal offering I should be making. You see," her voice got quieter, forcing Shiho to lean in, "it's expected among my people to offer our childhood toys to Artemis when we are planning on entering a sexual relationship for the first time." A blush appeared on Donna's face as Shiho's eyes widened in shock. "You mean to tell me that you're planning on pillowing Naruto soon?" Shiho almost couldn't believe her ears. It was well known, almost infamously, in Konoha that the Uzumakis weren't intimate due to the princess's upbringing. Sure, Donna had been warming up to Naruto and had been spotted being affectionate to him more and more often. However, most of the busybodies were expecting it to take months or even a year or two more before the couple fully acted as man and wife. I'm seriously considering it, Shiho. That's all I'll say on that subject for now, understood? Crystal Donna.